Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast Games of the Year 2022. It has been a interesting year for games, would you say? I mean,
Yeah,
there was some big games that came out. There were some not so great games that came out as well.
there were a lot of I don't know. There's some games that I thought would be big that were even bigger. The games I thought would be big that were really shit. Oh wait, was I not gonna swear in the first place? Oh, it doesn't
I don't care. We don't get monetized. We're not
No,
part of the
I
YouTube
know.
partner program, so
hmm
and I'm already nobody watches anyway, so it's not like they can shadow ban us. So
We've already should have banned ourselves. We
I've
can't be
shadow
banned
banned myself
anymore.
by making shit content. Yeah, looks like I did it again.
But I think I was telling you just before we recording is I feel this has kind of been a trend the last 5 years, but I think even more so 22. It's been like the year of indie games. Like they've been popping off
Yeah,
again.
last year was a big game of indie games.
Yeah, yeah,
My game of the year last year
huge.
was Inscription, which I think was one of the was like a perfect game. I had very little, I had nothing bad to say about it, pretty much. And
Yeah,
then my second runner-up game of the year, which was multiplayer slash co-op game of the year, was um, uh, It Takes Two, which obviously had a big studio behind it, or
yeah.
VA, but it's still a smaller
It's so smaller.
studio of Hazelight Studios with Joseph Fares. It felt like it was more of a smaller project that they were
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
do with some of the funding they got from EA.
Uh, it's maybe a medium game, but it's not like a massive AAA game. It wasn't like
Yeah.
overblown, and it was like perfect. And yeah, absolutely.
But this year I have been playing indie games. If you've watched Tangerine at all, I've been playing a hell of a lot of demos. If you've seen my Steam replay, I think I played like over 100 demos or some crazy
Yeah,
shit like that.
I think it was more than 100.
Um,
Yeah,
And it turns out a lot of the games that I bought, the games that I played as demos, I went and bought the full release, and then I really ended up really enjoying them. It's crazy how you can release a demo for a game, and then you end up really enjoying the full release because of the strength of the demo.
yeah.
Um,
Sarcasm strengthens.
so usually what I
We're
do,
pro demo here.
usually what I do with the podcast is there's not a set category list. I just make up categories as the stuff I want to talk about.
Yep.
But this year we're going to be starting with another thing to quickly say, um, a lot of games that came out in 2022 are really cool. A lot of them I didn't play. Whether that be
Yeah.
because I just didn't have enough time, or they were too expensive, or I didn't get round to it. Um,
Yeah, I'm the same here.
I'm someone who personally, if you've watched any of the Tangerines this year, you know I've been playing games from the fucking 90s a lot this year. So I'm someone who truly believes that it's still worth talking about games that came out, 20, 30 years ago. And I've been playing a lot of
Absolutely.
them this year, so the categories will be split up into um, the main category, and then there will be a subcategory of games I played in 2022. Because I still love to talk about them, and it's nice to think about the best game I played in the year 2022.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Well, let's get started with the first category, which is our Game of the Year winner. And this is for a game that was released in 2022. So let's just start. I'm going to read out a list, and then I'll tell you which one wins, right? Right at
Yeah.
the end.
Okay.
So let's just start with a game that we've both played, me more so recently, and you more so earlier in the year. Let's talk about um, V Rising. This is a
Yeah.
game that came out about halfway through 2022, I would say.
Yeah. I looked it up and it was about May.
Hmm. But I pretty much just started playing this like a couple of weeks ago in 2023 or something like that. Um, but I played it like just before we did this award show, so I was like, I
Yeah.
can talk about this. So I played it for
Yeah.
about 4 hours,
Yeah, that's where I was.
and
I played for like 3 hours of that, or like 2 hours maybe, like on the same world.
yeah, and I was playing with a couple of friends in multiplayer.
Yeah.
And maybe I should put this in the multiplayer category. I don't know. I've seen friends saying it's a very good single player game as well. So
I
um,
think I think it's fine to be here, but yeah, I for me I play a multiplayer, but I obviously was kind of playing it single
yeah.
player on that world where you were on.
So if you've never heard of this game, I have a bit of history with the studio. If you go back and watch our previous games of the year, I talked about an honorable mention Battle Right.
Yeah,
Stunlock, is it Stunlock Studios who do this game?
kind of
I believe it
familiar.
is. Let me pull up the store page. Stunlock
I was
Studios,
gonna
yeah.
say,
So the thing with Stunlock Studios is I love the game Battle Right. Is like the combat in this game
yeah,
is phenomenal. It's like
yeah,
WoW Arena distilled into
and
just the arena part.
I like the look at it, but it's never my thing. So I'm like a PvP player. So
Oh.
it's like they finally made a game with PvE, and it's like, oh my god, this is so good with
So
vampires, no less.
they took that idea and were like, let's have a cool combat system, but let's put it into a vampire survival crafting game.
Yeah,
And
insane.
I was a bit wary of this at first because I was like, I know what happened with Battle Right. It got turned into like a battle royale game, and then they kind of abandoned
Yeah,
it. And I was a little bit
yeah.
worried about this game before it came out because I knew the history of the development studio. But I gotta say, from what I've played so far, I've been pretty impressed with V Rising. Um, Obviously, you can see my character there, Come Thirster.
Yeah.
That's my vampire name. Obviously, I think this game is really, really cool. One of the things that kind of blew me away when I first played it was that daytime and nighttime are sort of flipped in the conventional sense of
Yeah.
survival crafting
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
And it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense for vampires because in survival crafting games, don't mine at night. In Minecraft, that's when all the monsters spawn. But in V Rising, you're a vampire, so the daytime is the dangerous time. You want to try and spend as
It
much time.
burns.
But yeah, it literally burns
You will
you
go
and
up in
takes away
flames.
all your health.
Yeah.
And
This game is, this might sound stupid because it's like, oh, it's just like a survivable vampire game that's top down. But it's like this game makes you feel like a vampire more than any other vampire game in
this
my
game
opinion.
really makes you feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
How'd you end it?
I've played a lot of vampire games though, and it's like genuinely that mechanic alone is enough to make like go, oh my god, that's what it's meant to feel like. Because in other games, it's just like, oh, you just never go out in the day. It's just nighttime. Like it's like automatically nighttime. And this is like no, there's always a daytime, a day and night cycle.
It's daytime right now, but I'm in like the tutorial area,
Yeah,
so you can see the
it's
sun was building
it's
up a
shaded.
bit.
Yeah,
There's like cemeteries in the game, and they have this shrouded mist thing that
yeah.
stops you from taking a lot of sun damage. Usually, your
Well, you did.
first like course of act, because the game's really good at tutorializing the game. It will just come up with pop and say, "Here, craft this, craft this, craft this."
Yeah, yeah.
There's probably a way to turn it off, but I found it quite useful to have these like little quests that
It's
basically
yeah.
prompt you into how to play.
I just see it as like a quest thing, even though obviously I played it before and I joined the server and you start again. I didn't see it as like, oh, this is an annoying tutorial, but oh, these are the steps I have to go through to like level up in the game. I just see it as like quest thing.
There's no
Oh, he picked
questing
up a
in
rat.
V-Rising. Oh,
He's just picking up the rats.
You
can eat rats.
You can eat rats to get health. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another really interesting thing that I thought about V-Rising. The health system is really cool. You have this stuff called blood, which, shocker alert, vampires need.
That's the circle in the middle of the bottom of the screen, by the way.
In order to heal, you need to use your blood pool. If you run out of blood, you die.
Yep.
But when you get a creature low enough, you can essentially suck their blood essence out, and this will give you a buff based on
their type and percentage.
Their type. So beasts that move faster, and they have more. I think they have more sun resistance. Is that correct?
On level 2, I think they have sun resistance.
Or you can kill like you can kill like a human hunter, and that will increase your combat skills, right?
Yeah.
And based on the level of the mob you kill, it increases your stats, right? But the really interesting thing comes down to when you start to run out of blood and you have a very strong buff, you might just have to take a smaller level buff because you need more blood, sort of thing.
Yep. Also, your abilities take blood as well, so that you will slowly be like just getting rid of it.
Which I think is like a really interesting system. I've never really seen it done this way before.
No, it's very interesting. I love it. It's great.
V-Rising is a very unique survival crafting game in that sense, where it is more like the survival element is sort of more killing enemies to survive rather than food or hunger or anything. I've been playing Valheim recently, and that just completely removes the hunger mechanic, which I've absolutely loved in that game because it removes the constant need to eat, but the
It adds
way your
buffs to food instead.
the way it works is your health and stamina are based on the food that you eat.
Yeah.
So you can't just go around and never eat anything, but it incentivizes you to try and you have to have a variety in your diet as well, Tony, which you would
Yeah.
love as you
Yeah, yeah,
install
yeah.
food variety buffs in your
Well, it
Minecraft
sounds
thing.
perfect because it's like food as a incentive, as like a reward
I
instead
can't
of
talk. I
like
can't talk
okay,
about Valheim yet. That's a game I played in
okay, sorry.
2023, so I got to go back to V Rising.
Right,
Um,
sorry.
but yeah, the way that you do a lot of the upgrades as well is you have this thing called what's it called, like a blood altar or something like that. Um,
The blood
what's
altar, yeah, the blood altar shows you where the bosses and things are to
yeah.
get the abilities for upgrading.
So a lot of the abilities and blueprints you need to upgrade your castle and stuff like that, you'll find by killing bosses. And I find this like a really cool system where
Yeah,
essentially you'll get like a blood scent and you'll have to follow it. And then the
yeah,
first boss you kill is like an alpha wolf, and you'll have to kill this alpha wolf in order to. I think you unlock the wolf form, which is pretty
yeah. You
cool.
transform.
So
You,
like
you become a werewolf,
yeah, the fast travel system in this
basically.
game, you essentially become a wolf, which is cool because humans will still try and attack you, but the creatures will leave you
Wolves don't.
alone when you're in wolf
Yeah,
form.
yeah. It's really
Um,
cool.
I was trying to use the teleport system, but then you were saying
It's
that
more for it's for corpse running.
yeah, so you can't teleport if you're carrying loot, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Obviously, most of the time you're in the world, like you're gathering loot or you're gathering resources from the world, so you can't use it at that point. So it's good to get
Yeah.
back to where you were if you died.
But your first port of action is kind of to make a temporary base. I find it interesting that a lot of stuff you need to do is cutting down trees, but in the early game, trees are also very good cover from the sun, so it's a bit risky to
Yes.
cut down trees.
Yeah, because you want to do like menial tasks in the day, and it's like, well, I'm just going to be under the trees. And like, oh, I'm destroying the trees to collect
Mm.
resources. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how they've done that.
But the first thing you do is you kind of you create these like braziers that send out mist sort of thing in order to
Yeah,
shroud you
burn
during the day.
bones. They burn
And
bones
then
for cover from the
very
day.
event you can build like very sort of temporary sort of wood cover with like wood,
Yeah,
and then eventually you get to the
like
point where
stockades.
you can build your castle walls, and then once you've finished your castle, it'll put a roof on it, so you're able to move around without getting burnt during the day in your castle, which is
Yeah,
quite
and
useful.
it's very gothic architecture. It's amazing. It's so good. Oh, look, attacking the bear. It's the
I
first
just
boss of the game.
I just spawned it, and I'm like, I want to kill this level 18 bear. I want to see what happens.
Yeah. Your level, by the way, is for
Gear
those who never
score.
played, it's gear score. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because you have a level, but your level on you is your gear score, and then how much like stats you have is based on the blood that you've
Yeah.
absorbed.
And then what abilities you can equip is based on what you've unlocked from killing bosses and things.
And there I should have fed on him, but I've just
Yeah,
literally
you didn't
launched the
know.
game for the first time.
You've just been killing them.
Yeah. But the way they've done it is you can use this blood mend ability, which like consumes your blood in order to heal, but you can only consume a certain amount when you are in combat.
Yeah,
Then,
if you're in combat, like you can keep healing, but like your maximum health you can heal up to goes down
yeah.
over time, and it's like you can't just like cheese the system. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. It's a really good way of balancing it because like we were fighting like I think it was like the graveyard boss, and it was just like yeah, I've got like 30 maximum health.
Yeah.
It's like absolutely tiny.
I love this the crafting system where you can just do it on a timer.
Yeah.
One of my favorite buttons is the compulsively count button, where
Yeah,
you can
I don't
just
know. I don't know why it's called that.
you can just go around and fill chests with certain items, and if you press the
Yeah.
compulsively count button, it'll just take everything you have that matches that stack and put it into the chest, which
Yeah.
is like super useful for these sort of games.
Yep. Yep.
But the thing I like about the crafting system is you have to wait a little bit for something to craft, but you can move around and do shit while it's crafting,
Yeah.
which I quite like. That they've kind of removed that annoyance of just
You
having to stand around and waiting for stuff.
Yeah, most of the crafting is done like with like fixed like in a structure like at your base. But early crafting, you do inside your inventory. So and that's also time based. You don't have to be there next to it. Just do it by itself, which is cool.
you get these basic abilities like the dash, which then heals you after your first attack. You get like
Yeah.
the blood bowl. You get like the deflect ability, and then you start to kill a couple of bosses, and then you start to unlock abilities in other trees, and the game goes, yeah, you can use this in any combination you want.
Yep.
The game
Yep.
is like, you don't have to any of the abilities we've given you. You don't have to use them. You could go like two different ranged abilities. You could go full
Yeah, that's
melee.
what I
You
did.
can go
I do that.
dash. You can
Yeah.
change your dash to different ability. Like the game is very open in that sense. Where it's like you can kind of build your character any way you want, and you can change it on the fly, sort of thing.
Hmm.
Which I think the combat is very good in this game, and I think that comes from the strengths of Stunlock Studios' previous games.
Yeah, 100%. I
Where
get that impression.
they have the inbuilt idea of this concept of um,
Everything has like a purpose.
blocking at the right time,
Yeah.
using your abilities at max range on cooldown and stuff like that. Line
And
of sighting
everything's
people.
like everything you have to all your abilities that's range you have to aim. It's not just like oh it just goes there.
Yeah. Some abilities, well, you have like a chaos ability that does lots of damage, but it will go off on a delay, so you have to aim it where enemies are going to be, for example, sometimes, which I think is quite interesting. But yeah, I think this game is really interesting. I love the boss system is really cool as well because again the bosses have mechanics. Like I remember I was fighting a boss that was like a workman, and he just dropped mines everywhere.
Yeah.
There was also these armor stands that meant you couldn't attack. But one thing you could do is you could put on the armor stands that were around this area, and you could run into the mines, destroying them. So you and your friends wouldn't get hit by these mines, and then you could go back to fighting the boss. I was like, oh, that's a really interesting mechanic to have for just a boss to get an upgrade. I was like, this is really cool.
So one thing, well, obviously we were playing it as like a PVE game, but like there's servers out there as like PVE and PvP. There's like different clans attacking different clans. So if that's your thing as well, that's also available. Not my thing, so I've been playing with friends only. So
yeah, I guess you can set it up sort of like Rust, where you go and raid each other's castles or something like that.
So the system, I don't know if you ever saw this, but you have to like get a key to you have to build. You have to like build a key, then you use that to raid. So you can't just keep doing it.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of cool.
But yeah, I think this game. Is there anything else you wanted to?
No, I think we covered everything. I would really highly recommend this game. I'm a massive vampire and gothic fan, so it's like I'm hankering after a new survival craft game, and it's like this has been really good for me. So
yeah, same for me. I mean, it's a breath of fresh air from some of the other survival crafting games. I think the biggest thing for me was going from playing games like The Forest and Green Hell, going to playing games like V Rising and Valheim, just being like, there's so many great quality of life things where it's not trying to be the most realistic survival game.
There's no point.
It's just trying to be a fun survival game with good theming.
Yeah.
Which I think both of those games I mentioned fit that description very well. This game makes you feel like a vampire. It doesn't ruin the game experience to make sure you are a vampire as realistically as possible.
Yeah.
Here's me feeding on someone.
Like I don't know. I guess this is one of the fun thing I will say is like the feeling feels great. Most vampire games with feeling is kind of shit. I'm gonna be honest, or it's mediocre. This to me kind of feels like it really has a purpose and it has like its buffs and debuffs sort of thing. And it just
what was the best vampire game up until now? Like Vampire Masquerade: The Bloodlines. Like I feel like we've never really particularly had a good vampire game overall.
There's been issues with all of them. I'll be honest with you. The most fun I've had recently with vampire stuff was me modding Skyrim. Right, with the vampire mods, that's been the most fun.
Best vampire game has got to be Magica, I believe. My friend Vlad, who was definitely not the vampire.
Great. There are already players. I guess you do play as vampires. One of the DLC, right?
Yeah.
Which you do feel like a vampire in that, if that helps.
You feel like you're in Vietnam in one of the DLCs.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't have an answer for you because I feel like they all have issues. All the other vampire games.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to say modded Skyrim is like my default answer for that. But now it's definitely be Rising. So
Let's move on to the next one. Next up we have Neo Dash up here.
DoorDash.
No, Neo Dash.
Oh, NeoDash.
So
I didn't realize this came out in 22. I don't know, for some reason I thought this was older for some reason.
no, like I literally played the demo for this in 2022, and
Right, okay.
you're like, you may be saying, we haven't had you tangerine this, Joe. So why don't you have any footage of it? I've been playing this on my Steam Deck. That's why.
Oh, okay.
This is the perfect. Oh, caveat. I haven't tested it yet. I need to test this out. You remember when OBS was added to Steam, and I was like, but why? Why would you add OBS to Steam? I don't really
Oh
understand.
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's so you can record on Steam Deck?
maybe. I need to try that.
I need to
Can you
test
get
that
a
out.
can you get a recording in NeoDash?
I'll try, like after
Live on
like
no after the stream.
but I absolutely adored the demo for this. It has that like
It has the speed and energy. That's what
it
it
is
is.
it if you don't know what Neo Dash is, it's essentially um a racing game against the clock, like the behind you the world is slowly like going away sort of thing, and the tracks and the lights and stuff like that all sync to the music that's playing, and it has this great like Monster
Yeah.
Cat style, like electronic kind of music playlist, and some of the tracks are just really cool. Um, I haven't again. I haven't played too much of this. I've played like maybe an hour or so of it. Let me check. Maybe even less. Let me check. 0.3 hours. Yeah, so I've only played like what 20 minutes or something like that. But I've been having a lot of fun playing this. Oh wait, no, I played more than this. I think it's when I didn't have
When
any
you're off,
internet on my
yeah, I was
Steam
saying when
Deck.
you were offline.
Um,
I thought we talked about this slightly before. Like, when we talked about Steam Deck, like we talked about this, wasn't it? And like you said that this was you offline while you're playing this.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
It was in the
But
podcast.
the really cool thing about this game is it comes with a level editor. I haven't tested out the level editor or played anything on it, but again, even if this game, I play this game, I beat all the levels, and it's only like 2 hours long. It has a level editor, so like people can make their own maps for it, and it'll add a lot more content to it. I think this game's really cool. For me, it controls perfectly because it's set up in a way that is just like the aerial controls in like Rocket League. Is
That's when you
exactly
yeah.
and I think it's Steam Deck verified. It's playable,
It says playable.
but from somebody who's played it on a Steam Deck, I can tell you, it is 100% working on Steam Deck. Runs at 60 FPS, runs smooth. It's very good experience.
Nice. To me, it looks like the piece, like sort of not quite the like 100%, but like the PC version of like Wipeout.
Yeah, I mean I've been missing games like Neo Dash. Like we
Yeah.
haven't had a great one like this for a long time.
No, it's been a while.
We need those good like single player racing like beat like just chill out,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, yeah.
I mean, Wipeout has like this sort of thing, and it has like normal normal racing as well. But I just feel like both of those sort of things we've kind of been like arcadey races. I feel like we're having with an interesting twist.
Yeah.
We've kind of been missing on PC. In my
Neo
opinion.
Dash, I loved it from the demo. I loved it when I played it on PC, and yeah, great on Steam Deck as well. So let's move on to the next game. Okay, the next game I have coming up is I love this game, and I feel like it's way better than it has any right to be.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll stream this to you, and you'll immediately go, "Oh, okay, that game."
It's the meme game.
So, Trombone Champ is fucking amazing.
Is this you early on in the playing this game?
No, not too early on.
Okay, okay.
I'm playing the music, so I think this is copyright free. Most of the stuff in there, it's like
Well,
classical music.
this is classical, yeah. I was gonna say.
A lot of the songs are classical. So I saw this a streamer playing it, and I was like, "It's Guitar Hero with a trombone. That's
Yep.
fucking hilarious."
Yep.
I thought, "Man, that's a funny meme game, but it can't be any good, right?" And then
Well, I mean, you have a me as the person, right?
Yeah. So I thought, I saw it on sale a long time, and I was like, "This game looks really fun." And I was like, you know what? It's on sale for about like £7 or £8 or something. I was like, I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna play it. And I played it, and I was blown away at just how fucking polished this game is. Like everything about it, all the tracks, the UI is amazing, and the way that you progress through the game is hilarious and so unexpected. Where the guy who made this is obsessed with like baboons and hot dogs, and the way you like unlock more stuff is you have to go in these like really random side quests where you have to unlock card packs with different classical music artists in them, and it gives you facts on how much they loved hot dogs. Spoiler alert: they all love hot dogs. So the way you control this on the PC is you're just moving your mouse up and down, and then you left click to blow. And I found this to be a really intuitive and fun way to play. It by default it's inverted, and I would recommend immediately turning that off because the game was so hard when I was playing inverted, and then as soon as I turned it to non-inverted, it just immediately clicked, and it was a lot easier.
Tromboner.
Yeah. This is the warm-up track. There's different styles of trombone. There you heard I was playing, I think, more of like an electronic one. This is more of like the default trombone sound. I did have a recording of my first ever playthrough, but it was... the recording bugged out and you could hear Discord in the background.
Oh, okay.
So I decided to record it again. Further on.
So you completed this game, right?
I have completed Trombone Champ.
You can, which I didn't think it's something you could even do because it was a mini game. But this is a game you can complete.
Yeah, it has a limited amount. It has tracks, and once you get enough S ranks and enough tracks, that unlocks other stuff that you need to do. There's like a whole thing about opening card packs and chests and unlocking keys and sacrificing to baboon trophies and stuff like that. It's really interesting. You might need to follow a guide in order to figure some of this stuff out.
I love how cynical it is against loot boxes and like modern gaming.
Yeah,
it's great.
But yeah, I've S-ranked most of the tracks, and I've defeated the final boss of the game.
There's a final boss of the game. What more do you need to know?
Sort of, yeah. I'll tell you, this one's for our king.
Can I just say it's still weird to have a king? I just Lizzie with a glizzy is where I'm still at.
I love the backgrounds on this. They're usually taking the piss out of things. I mean, it starts the Union Jack, then it just starts flashing up with like Big Ben and full English breakfast and stuff like that. And just like, this is what it means to be English. You'll love to see it. They have a couple of like national anthems, and then just like random classical music. They regularly update this with new songs. Like in the past month or so, they just keep adding new songs.
That's cool.
So like
Big Ben.
Beautiful London, which is really, really cool to see. I like how they have a ska song in this game, and the description is, "We put in this ska song because you said we couldn't have a trombone game without a ska song, so this is what we're giving you."
Good reason.
Which I thought was hilarious.
I like that it broke through the board or the panel there. That's good. That's good UI.
But yeah, I, I honestly thought this was like, oh, it's a meme game. There's nothing more to it. And
Yeah,
then
that's what I thought.
I played it, and then I was like, holy shit, this is so well polished. It feels like a game that's better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, a game called Trombone Champ with
Yeah.
good gameplay. Who would have thought? No, I agree. This is way better than it has any right to be, and it's all the better for it.
I love this game. I genuinely do.
Hmm.
Um, I've played so much of it now because, as well as it's not officially in the game, but they have it set up so updates don't break mods. There is a mod that essentially just adds custom tracks, so you can download. People have made tons of custom tracks for this, and they're amazing.
With backgrounds.
Yeah, so people have made like they've taken the me character from Trombone Champ and then just put them into their own custom videos. Like the amount of effort that went into that, I'm like, that's amazing. But we'll talk about that more when
Yeah.
we get to the best mod section of
Okay. Okay.
2022.
All right.
I have played this on Steam Deck. It is an awful experience.
Yeah, I can
One
imagine.
of the main reasons being that there's no controller support for this game. So you're
Yeah, that's a
essentially
problem.
emulating the mouse as a joystick or emulating the mouse on a trackpad. Unironically, the best way to play this on Steam Deck is through gyro support and just
Really?
gyroing it up and down and tooting. Yeah, Trombone Champ is one of the best gyro experiences on Steam Deck I've had so far. So
Okay.
it's not as it's not as good as PC with the mouse and keyboard, but oh, here we go.
It's
Here's a
okay.
baboon.
It's a... Oh!
You have to sacrifice toots to the treble clef to unlock more stuff. You get toots from playing tracks.
Oh,
There's
then
a
you get then you shits at some point as well.
yeah, you have to like turd cards to sacrifice to the devil.
Oh, loot box. Here we
Click
go.
that
Click
chest.
that. I love this the satire.
There's a soundtrack for this game, and it has like all these random tracks on it. Like it's literally, I think it's literally called like click. Yeah, it's literally called "Click That Chest." This song. There's a full version of this. But yeah, awesome stuff. And that's Trombone Champ, one of the games of the year. It was the one I
One
did
of the
not
games
expect.
of the year. Excellent.
Next,
Excellent.
next up we have interesting one, Dome Keeper. Dome Keeper. This is one I did the demo on. So when the demo fest came around for 2022, I played this for fucking hours. I stopped myself and was like, I can't do a mega tangerine of like Steam Demo Fest. I have to spotlight on this as its own like separate thing. This is phenomenal. Dome Keeper is a game. Is I have to remind myself that this is the reason I play Next Fest. I
Yeah.
play a lot of crap, but games like Dome Keeper make it all worth it. This game is phenomenal, and I probably wouldn't have known about it if I hadn't have played the demo in the Steam Next Fest.
As a quick note, I'm looking at the store page now, and I've not seen the updated graphics, and they look great.
Yeah. Essentially, he was like, I want to upgrade like the overall graphics, but I want to keep this like the weird silhouette where you just
Yeah,
kind of have
yeah, that's.
no idea what the like the Eldritchian sort of
I actually
theme of
think
the
it.
monsters.
Yeah, I think it's better because they've made the eyes even creepier, but kept the
Mm.
silhouette. I think that's a really good idea. And I
So
love
I
the
think it's
actual
really
like
cool.
the colored backgrounds. Like it still feels like you're no one is there to help you, like in a deserted, a desolate place. But it looks much better. Yeah, it's
But
a big improvement.
I've been playing a bit of this since it came out, about 4 hours. It's really fucking fun. Great on Steam Deck. I
Yeah, I
had
can imagine really good on Steam Deck.
Yeah, immediately as soon as I got my Steam Deck, one of the first things I was like, I have to test out Domekey because this
Yeah,
is something that I
yeah,
would play on the go in a heartbeat. It
hundred
has
percent.
very, very cool, like, drop in, drop out sort of like gameplay where you can save in the middle of a run and then just come back in and go
Oh, it has
mining.
that. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, you can stop playing in the middle of like
I didn't
a
think it had that. Okay,
run
that's
and
great.
then
Yeah.
drop straight back in. The only issue I had was it has a native Linux version, which is really cool because it means it immediately works on Steam Deck, but it has cloud save issues with
Oh, with
the
we talked about
Windows
before.
version because
Yeah.
I carried on a run from my Domekeeper playthrough on my PC on my Steam Deck, and then I couldn't upload that cloud save back to the Windows version, which
Yeah.
I don't know if they fixed this, but um, Domekeeper is phenomenal. It is a great little roguelite. Amazing. I love the aesthetics and the art style. Great, like atmospheric soundtrack. Sort of reminds me of like Risk of Rain sort of sound, like Risk of Rain 2
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like a bleak soundtrack, but with
yeah.
interest to it.
And we've talked about this one, so if you want to hear more of me gushing over Domekeeper, check out our spotlight on Domekeeper. Um, yeah.
It's really good. I really like the look of it. The new look and the
Let's
new
move on.
enemies. Oh my god.
Let's move on to the next game, which is a really fucking interesting game. The next game I am going to be talking about is Signalis. So, I played this game because if you don't remember, maybe I can, it's Games of the Year 2022. It's our wrap up of things we did in 2022. I subscribed to Humble Choice for a year because there was a big discount. I said, you know what? I quite like a lot of the games in the Humble Choices, so maybe I'll try it for a year. And as part of that, I got a subscription. As part of that subscription, you get access to what's called Humble Games Trove, which essentially gives you sort of like Games Pass, but just for Humble Games, essentially.
Hmm.
So any game that's published under Humble Games, you could play through their desktop app. So I was like, this Signalis game, um, I thought looks really interesting. I think I downloaded the demo in a Next Fest and I never got around to playing it. And I was like, damn it, I missed out. So I was like, you know what, this is a good way to try the game again because um, I get it as free as part of my humble Trove subscription, right? So
Yeah.
I might as well try it out. Um, Signalis is a really fucking interesting game. I'm kind of like 50-50 on this one. I think it's definitely worth being talked about as one of the games of the year.
Yeah.
Um, there's stuff I absolutely adore about this game, and there's stuff that makes me question whether I like the game. Um, it's a really hard game to talk about because it's such a strange mix of it's like it's clearly inspired by stuff like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, but it has this weird mix of like Japanese and as like German aesthetics, and then it has like this weird mix of like cyberpunky kind of horror. Um, I love some of this. Like you save by going to like physical computers, like the
Yeah.
typewriters and like Resident Evil. Like I haven't played
I
a
like
Silent
those.
Hill game, but I assume this is what Silent Hill is like, based on
Yeah.
my playing of Resident Evil. Um, you remember that game we did a tangerine on ages ago called Lawns Learn? And I was like, I can't tell if this game is awful or a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I feel kind of similar way to Signalis. I think this game. I'm more leaning towards this game is probably really good.
Yeah.
Um,
They're just stuff that you don't gel with.
the atmosphere of the game is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, the actual like the story is very confusing. Um, I don't know if it's like something's going over my head or it's just dumb. Uh, I'm not a big fan of the anime aesthetic. I'm not. I'm not anti-anime, but
Wait, what?
legitimately, a lot of the characters have this aesthetic, and I was struggling to tell them apart because of this anime
They're too
aesthetic.
similar. Yeah.
Because there would be so if you don't so these like um these anime characters are kind of like roboty workers sort of things, and they would have different classes based on like their they would look almost identical, but they would have like slightly different colors or something, and it would like you should be able to tell them apart based on these like small color changes, and it's just like I just have cannot tell any of the characters apart based on these. There was no visual distinction between them, whether that was on purpose or whatever, but I don't know. I was really fucking confused by the story. The story is really fucking confusing. Um, but when you're in that actual like gameplay of the game, the atmosphere of this game is dripping with atmosphere. Um, it is so strange. I love that a lot of the puzzles you have to solve by listening to old radios and tuning them and stuff like that. And even some of the combat is done through tuning radios. It's so
Oh, right.
random, but it's so awesome. You just have this like you just listen to this radio and you'll hear someone go like Achtung, Achtung, and you just hear this like old German like stuff going on. And you're like, what the fuck? And it's just like, yeah, it's really awesome. Um, like the actual design of the game is really cool. It has that very much old reading notes and finding codes for safes and stuff like that kind of design. Um, some of the puzzles I really didn't like and thought were just overly
Yeah,
confusing.
I had to.
Um,
I think you got help from like some of the people in Discord, like for some of the puzzles, right? And it's like it's kind of
but then other
weird.
puzzles, I was like, "This is a really well designed puzzle.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
completely got this." And there was a lot of like fetch quests, like backtracking a lot of the levels. And if you don't like that sort of stuff, you might not like Signalis. Um,
This is my personal preference, but I feel like if you're gonna have backtracking, you should have like content that not respawns per se, but like has like a content director or something that like can tell like, oh, you're
yeah.
backtracking, let's do something else. That's my opinion, but I think I don't, it's not the only way to do it, and yeah, I
Mm,
think it's fine. And I think okay, in an atmospheric game, I think backtracking's fine. I
yeah.
think if you like absorb into like, and I really like the aesthetic of like what I'm seeing and what I saw when on you were streaming on Discord. Like it looks fantastic.
Mm.
Yeah. So wait, if
Um,
you completed this game then, and you
I have completed this game. Yeah.
and the story is still confusing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe I need
I
to.
thought it would explain something, but okay,
No, it does not.
right,
The thing is,
okay,
you as the game goes, I think it gets more and more confusing.
right.
I think it's
So
one of those
more
game.
things opens up.
I think it's one of those games where you'd have to look up a video explaining the story, the like
It
the artistic integrity of the game, sort of thing.
would you get more if you played it again? Would you like get more out of it, maybe, or like
Yeah, maybe
if you're
if you
missing stuff?
like I get the general idea. The general idea of the game is this idea of like loneliness and depression, which is
Yeah,
pretty obvious. Like there's this there's this like this quest you're on to find this other replica unit. You're like a replica unit, which is essentially like sort of like a robot. And this
that
whole
looks like a
throughout the
human.
game, you keep trying to get close to this replica unit, but it keeps getting further and further away. And it's like this idea of loneliness and depression and feeling lost all the time. Maybe that's why I felt so awful all the time. Maybe that's why the puzzles are designed like that to make you feel awful. Um,
Maybe.
um, a cool thing about like if you really love your classic games, you can put tank controls on this. I did not; they're off by default. I actually found I wasn't a huge fan of the combat. The combat's not awful, but there was an option to adjust the combat and turn it down, and I found myself turning it down because I was regularly just running out of ammo all the fucking time on the default difficulty setting. Not to a
Right.
point where I was like, "Oh, I'm terrified of fighting things because I got no ammo. I need to run over here and grab stuff." Like to a point where I was frustrated because I just had
Yeah.
no ammo all the fucking time. And I think it
Yeah.
got a lot better once I turned the enemy
It
difficulty down.
if something annoys you, it overrides almost any other emotion you have, and
Like
yeah, like
I can see the
get rid of
idea
that.
of adding tension through making less and less ammo
Scarce.
available. Yeah,
Yeah.
scarcity,
Scarcity of
tension through
resources.
scarcity. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good way to put it. Um, but I think for me personally, like I played a lot of it with the higher stuff, and I just found that once I turned the the enemy difficulty down, it sort of clicked for me, and that's when I um, really started to enjoy the game a lot more. Man, this game gets fucking weird though. Like, I'll just say now, the game starts. It's very much like spaceships, and then it's like, but you're in a mine now. But now you're walking through flesh holes, and it's just like, what the fuck is going? It's very much like that kind of like Japanese like fucking horror sort of thing. It's just like,
Yeah, they
what
go all
the
over the
hell is
place.
happening?
Yeah,
Which I find really, really interesting.
yeah, it's
Uh,
very cool.
yeah, it's not like so. This isn't. If you're looking at this going, I want a horror game to play. If you're looking at this as like just a straight up like what are those games like Amnesia or um, what's it called
Outlast?
Outlast. It's not like jump
No.
scare every 2 minutes. It is more like a Resident Evil game, more like a like an immersive. It's not an immersive sim, but it's more similar to that in terms of like its horror. Like the
Yeah,
atmosphere is very
yeah.
creepy, and there's tension built up through its like lack of jump scares. I would say. I think that's what a lot of like modern horror games missed the point of was if you're
Hmm.
constantly throwing screamers in people's faces, they're not going to be scared of them. Um, but if you kind of build up this sense of dread and fear,
If
then
the
you put
whole level is designed around it, yeah.
um, yeah. I'm just gonna quickly look at other people's reviews and see what else they. Because somebody says here, combat is generally having a gun and ammo for the gun at any given time. So you target an enemy first and then you fire at them. Um,
Right.
I'm not sure if this is so misses then shoots less. If you're doing more damage in aiming, you hit more vital points. You end up not having enough ammo to go around, and sometimes it's safer just run, not even sneak past your enemies than fight. I was doing this, but I still felt like I just did not have enough ammo for have an enjoyable. Like I get the idea of oh shit, I need to. I was running past a lot of enemies on the easier difficulty with
And then
where
they
like
then chase
it
after
was
you and
easier
things.
to kill them.
Yeah.
Um, the game isn't like crazy long either. I can't remember how long it was because I don't have it on Steam. I played it on Humble Trove, but it wasn't like crazy long. But some of the puzzles are really well designed. Some of the puzzles I was just like, I'm not like a crazy big fan of. I think the game's maybe around like 6 to 8 hours long, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Um, but if you're looking at this and you're like, I'm really hankering for like another Resident Evil, Silent Hill kind of horror game, check this out and give it a go. If you already have Humble Trove through Humble Choice, definitely download it and give it a try. It might even be on Games Pass. Let me check for you now. Um, if Signal is on Games Pass. Yeah, I think it might be on Games Pass as well. Um, So yeah, I definitely recommend at least trying this game on Games Pass or Humble Trove. Um, but I think this game is phenomenal. Um, I think it has a few flaws, but I think a lot of what it does right, it does very right. So definitely check this one out. And it's one of my games of 2022.
Yeah, it is, yeah, very atmospheric, very good.
Next up, we have Hellpie. Um, put it on the screen. Hellpie. I have talked about this in my Tangerine on Hellpie. I've played the full game. It's a fantastic controlling 3D platformer. It has that Hat in Time level platforming control. As I talked about previously in my Halloween Tangerine, it has a lot of recovery mechanics, which some people will like, some people won't. I'm a big fan of recovery mechanics because I feel like they just allow you to combo more moves together,
Yeah.
um, and it just feels like
Well,
this free flowing experience.
it also means, in my opinion as well. I didn't say this in the Halloween Tangerine, but I feel like as well, like it doesn't necessarily mean you can make the like jump you need to do, but it means you can
Yeah.
jump back to the safe place to redo that jump.
I think my biggest criticism of this game is some of the like story and the writing is kind of cringe. But that will be a
Yeah.
theme for this year of 2022.
It's trying to be a little bit too gross, I would say.
Hmm.
Like
It
for
just
no reason, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean it's still like a enjoyable experience. There's a couple of things
Yeah.
I would have liked, like the ability to have like going back to Demon Turf, like the ability to have an arrow that points you towards collectibles. I found when I was playing this game, it would have been nice to just like, I just need to find that one collectible. And I was going insane trying to find it, and then
Hmm.
just to have a little push in the right direction because I 100% of this game. I really enjoyed it. It's not a perfect game by any means, but I still think it's worth playing for most people. It is a very good 3D platformer that came out this year, so I'd recommend most people check out Hellpie. And if you want to see my full thoughts and gameplay of Hellpie, check out the I think it was a Tangerine video I did of it. So yeah. Next
It
up,
was it
we
was good then.
have another game I covered on Tangerine. Uh, a few of these I've covered on pages now. Doing live production. Next up, we have Fashion Police Squad. Uh, Again, one of the best games 2022. This is, at first glance, you go, this is just a dumb fashion game, but it's actually truly is one of the best love letters to boomer shooters that came out this year, while also still being fucking hilarious. This is the
Yeah.
complete opposite of Hellpie. I'm like, the writing to this is fucking hilarious, and I think is very well placed. Look here, they have fucking Drip Eternal, um,
Tripped.
like genuinely, like a lot of the boss fights, like one of them is just has a section. There's a straight up a love letter to Wolfenstein 3D, another boomer shoot I've been playing this year, last year, 2022. Um, this game is oozing with charisma and is really fucking fun. If you want to see my full thoughts, check out our Tangerine on it. But I love Fashion Police Squad. Then next up we
It's
have
hilarious.
The Looker, a free-to-play game that came out on Steam this year. Um, it's essentially a parody of
Oh,
what's that game called? The Witness, and it
yeah.
takes that and it turns it on its head, and it just completely makes like a comedy version of it. It is very engaging to play with its unique mechanics and also incredibly funny. If you want to know more thoughts about it, check out our Tangerine on it. But again, very funny game, and I highly recommend most people to go in and play it blind. Speaking of playing blind, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. I've
Fantastic.
I think I talked about this briefly, but
Yeah,
again,
we have.
10 out of 10 Destructoid says don't read any reviews, and I highly recommend. At first glance, you may be going, "Wow, I've." So, as me as well, you may go, "I've played
Yeah,
the Stanley Parable.
I thought this as
Why do I
well.
need to play the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe?" It just adds a couple of endings to the Stanley Parable. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, without going into any spoilers, is a lot more than you think it is, and I'm really torn because the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, I think, is one of the best games I've played this year, but is also neck and neck with another game I played this year for the best game of the year, and that
Right,
is
really? Okay.
Neon White.
Right.
Um, I fucking love Neon White, and I almost. Do you remember I was talking about the Tangerine, and I was like, I feel like if you watch the Tangerine, it feels like I hate Neon White, but the soundtrack is phenomenal. The gameplay is phenomenal. UI and everything's phenomenal. The story and the dialogue is cringe, and you should ignore it all. Um,
They oh, it's random thought here. What if Stanley Parable story with neon white?
get the Stanley Parable writers to rewrite the
Yeah,
Neon White story.
yeah,
Yeah,
that'd
because
be
like
great.
Neon
The
White is
God as the voice actor,
the
as like the narrator.
Neon White is the best gameplay of the year, and Stanley Parable Deluxe is the best story of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
Is how I would phrase it. But man, there's just like if I had to choose a single game of the year, I would have to give it to Neon White because I became so addicted. It does something in such an awesome way. The idea of, I don't know if you've ever seen on YouTube the idea of like summoning salt videos where he makes like documentaries on speedrunning, and he picks a particular game and he makes like a documentary on the history of speedrunning that game. And the idea of speedrunning a game is so cool, because people put in like thousands of hours into a game and they get this sense of speed running the game over and over again. And Neon White goes, let's take that idea of speed running a game and spending thousands of hours playing it and distill it into this condensed experience and just make this really fucking awesome game about discarding cards. And it's an FPS speed running deck building game. I mean, calling it a deck building game is quite charitable. Like, there's not really a deck building element to it. It's more so just picking up cards and discarding them as
Yeah,
weapons.
yeah.
Um,
It just looks like cards the way they've done it.
but the best thing that the creator of Neon White did was add the ability to skip through all the story. It's all skippable. You can completely ignore it. I went through it because I was genuinely interested if it got better at any point. But my advice for you, if you're interested in Neon White, is to literally skip story. You can listen to the main story if you want, but
With no side quests.
the optional gifts you go through, I would just skip through all of that. There's nothing of interest. Like, a lot of it is just, hey, do you like pizza? Yeah, I like pizza. Okay, cool. Like, it's a lot of that. It's not worth your time. But if you took the story out and it's just Neon White levels strung together, this game is fucking sick. I love this game. And that's why I am awarding Neon White my Inbetween podcast Game of the Year 2022. I think this game is phenomenal, and I can't think of a single person I wouldn't recommend this game to. It is so cool. I
Um,
would recommend most people play Neon White and the Stanley Parable Deluxe, and I would recommend to most people most of the games I have mentioned beforehand as well. What are you saying,
yeah,
Tony?
I say, are they going to get their trophy in the post? Like, what's the?
Yes, just contact me. You have my details from the leaderboard of the pop level.
Yeah.
I'm a top 150 player in the world in some Neon White levels, so I really love this game. Also, so let's go. Let's mention one more game that came out at the end of 2021, and then we'll go into your games of 2022, and then I'll go into honorable mentions. So let's go into Vampire Survivors. Technically, came out of early access at the end of this year. The game itself came out in 2021, but I was like, I've got to mention this game because I've been playing a hell of a lot of it in 2022, or I've been playing a bit of it in 2022. I really like Vampire Survivors. I haven't put hundreds of hours into this. I don't think I've played like a crazy amount. I've played about eight hours or something. Again,
Yeah.
another game.
That's a decent amount, though.
It was one of those games where I installed it, I started playing around, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. I could see myself putting hundreds of hours into this, and I was like, oh, I get it. I don't need to put the thousands of hours into it to get that I would be able to put thousands of hours into it, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But this is probably a game now that I have a Steam Deck, that if I'm out and about, I'm going to be logging in lots of hours playing on my Steam Deck.
Yeah,
As we know, this is one of the top games on the Steam Deck. But yeah, this game's phenomenal. It's essentially a bullet hell game where you don't fire a single bullet yourself, which is, again, is a really interesting idea, because you would go, well, what's the point? But aren't you just walking around at that point? But it turns out, like, the actual act of movement mixed with the act of choosing which upgrade you take is such an enthralling gameplay experience that actually makes up for that seemingly lack of shooting gameplay.
You got different decisions to make because
Yeah.
of that lack of choice.
I think Vampire Survivors is one of my games 2022. And yeah, that tops off my list for Joe's in
Yeah.
between podcast games of the year. So let's.
I just have a couple of additions to add to this. As someone who's not played that many games in 2022. I'll start off though
Which one do you
with
want to
a.
start off with?
I'll do Demio. We'll stay on
Okay.
scene. Yeah,
Demio.
yeah. I thought this looked cool in VR. Just a clarification.
Wait,
I'm
I've
pretty sure
opened
the
the wrong.
VR
No, this is the right thing.
game.
That's just a cinematic trailer. I was very
Yeah,
confused.
yeah. The VR game came out in 21, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But the PC edition only came out in 22. And
Yeah.
I, according to Steam, bought the PC edition and I installed the PC edition. I do have the VR edition, but it's a separate install.
After
If you buy
disrespect.
one, you get the other.
Ignore me.
Ignore. Okay, sorry. But yeah, this was. I didn't really understand. I didn't. I would watch stuff and not like watch someone like play it through. I just like watch like vague reviews of it. I didn't get into it very much. Like showing stuff. So when I played, it was like, oh, this has like way more card mechanic stuff than I was expecting,
Yeah.
and it's like very interesting. Like where you have like the more because like technically there's like okay, there's many campaigns. But I've only done 3 now.
Yeah.
Okay, 2.5. I've not completed the third one. Um, but like there's 3 floors in each campaign, and the third floor is the boss floor.
Yeah.
And technically, you can stay on. There's like okay, so you go into a floor, and there is piles of money you can get, and there's
Mhm.
chests you can get, and then there's like healing fountains as well. And you have to kill a boss or like a mini boss with a key to get to the next floor. So obviously you want to. So the chests have cards in them that's
Yeah.
like to your class and like what you can do. You have 2 movement and like they're combined, like 2 movement and actions per turn. And you only
Yeah.
get to like if you so you can move and attack. So you
D-
or you can attack and attack. It's a
mhm.
bit more nuanced than that. Like you can technically do like a movement and attack as a movement, but that's like a melee attack only.
Yeah.
So killing lots of enemies will fill up like a meter to unlock a new card that way, or you can go or you can go and find a chest and get a new card. You got a maximum hand size of 11.
Mhm.
So this is interesting is that you can and enemies infinitely respawn over time. So technically you can stay there just to like farm it, but then you like start getting to the point where you're losing more health than you're gaining. So okay, it's now like time to leave. Like it's not worth it anymore. And I just found that, and then at every floor at the end of it, you have a shop you can buy to buy and sell cards. Like you don't care for some of them and you want to swap it out.
Does it sort
Um,
of set up like a roguelite almost?
yeah. As far as I can tell, some of the floors are like half randomized. I would say like there's like a core of it that's the same every time in the campaign, like each campaign. But then like
Yeah.
some of the outsides of it seem to change. Is what I can tell. And the boss, the final floor, as far as I can tell, has always been the same. Like
Yeah.
that's like set in stone. I don't know if that changes with other campaigns or not though. But also I meant it's not really like a deck builder because like there's only a couple of like only your class cards like reset after every turn. But other cards you get you then use once and then they're gone. But the idea of like having these class like these cards that you get like to then use is like I found way more interesting than I was expecting, and it's like not really. I don't know. I thought it'd be more D&D, and it doesn't feel like D&D like at all. Like it's
Yeah,
meant
I
to me like
thought it
oh
was going to
tabletop
be
D&D.
very D&D. So I
Yeah,
saw the original VR version and I wasn't like clamoring to play it. I had a friend who played the VR version and was like, "It's really fun. You should try it." And I was like,
yeah,
I kind of just not that interested in VR D&D. But from what
yeah.
you're saying, it's making it sound a bit more interesting because you've been playing on
It's
the PC.
arcade D&D.
You've been playing more on the. You've been playing the PC version, so you haven't
Yeah,
played
yeah.
the VR version at all, sort of thing.
So apparently as well, like I'm missing out because the VR stuff has even more stuff in. Like in the
Right.
VR version, like the idea is that you have like this board and there's 4 people, up to 4 people like characters playing like on this dungeon, and
Yeah.
it's like apparently in VR you can just like get like just step away from the board and just do other mini games or like a miniature painting. And it's like wait what? That's not in the PC version. So apparently I'm missing out in that regard, but the PC version is also fantastic, and just like the actual dungeon
because I was
gameplay.
the thing I asked you was before was like, does it feel like a VR game that's been ported to PC, or does
Yeah,
it feel like its own unique, like it was almost made to be on the PC? Because the other way we see the other way round a lot, where
yeah,
flat screen games get turned to VR games, and they just
like
feel
Skyrim or Fallout.
kind of awful as a
Yeah,
VR game because they weren't
yeah,
designed that way. So how
yeah.
does a VR game that was designed for VR feel as a flat screen game?
The only issues I've had is it's like okay, this is not an issue at all. It's just like a weird thing. The dice is physics and like hits things on
Mm,
the board. It doesn't make any sense to do that on a flat
yeah,
screen game. It doesn't change anything. It just looks weird. 'Cause, like it's not rolling in the same way.
yeah,
The bigger problem is the camera. The camera control isn't awful. It's just bad.
okay,
But it's acceptable. It's fine most of the time. It just like does weird stuff, and it's like it just feels like sometimes you're just fighting with the camera. Um, it's fine, but it's an annoyance. I feel like the only thing that makes me feel like it's like a VR game like says PC is like I feel like there's clearly stuff that's like you're meant to like pick up stuff and like physically move it around to the board, right? Instead, like I'm just like picking up with the mouse. Like I feel like I'm missing out on stuff, not like I'm like it's like not for me sort of thing, if that makes sense. So I think it's reasonable. I think it works well. I'm glad they did it. Like it's definitely worth having a PC, a non VR edition. Like,
yeah,
it's very well done. My only caveats to this is that there are a few mechanics. One, this game works. This game works really, really well.
hmm
One, this game. Well, okay. The first problem I encountered was I'm pretty sure this was glitched or they changed it in an update. The first campaign's boss spawned everything in the room at the same time. Like you just walked in, everything was in the room, and we just got absolutely killed. It didn't make any sense. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't like a staged fight or anything. The second time round, it was fixed. It was like in 3 phases, and it felt much better. It was like still hectic, but it felt much better. And then on one of the campaigns, there's a really bullshit mechanic where you get enraged and just like attack at anything for like 3 turns. And
right.
it's like basically half your turn is like you do something, the other half is your enraged phase, and it's just really as a
You
warlock
you
who
didn't like
summons
it,
an animal you can't control, it's really dumb. But when it works, it really works. Like you start thinking of like how do you combine stuff. There's also I didn't speak about it. It's like environmental stuff. There's like pots
mm.
of there's like void flasks or water flasks or fire flasks or poison flasks in the world, and like so you can do like environmental stuff to you start thinking about doing that, and it does feel really good when you start
Is it
doing that.
almost like XCOM-y in a sort of way? Would you say you're thinking about your moves ahead
Yes.
of time and trying to
Yeah. In the same
counteract
way,
your enemies' moves?
yeah, another similar thing, like XCOM has like 2 movement and attack turns. This also has that as well. So yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
It's to me, I guess it's more of like a arcadey version of like XCOM movement with some of the simplified environmental effects from like something like Divinity: Original Sin.
mm.
It's kind of like that, but then with pieces on like a board as its gimmick, and yeah, it works. It works really well. When it works really well, it works really well. There's some bullshit mechanics, but I still think it's really good overall.
I think this is it's an interesting looking game for sure. It's just obviously it's one of your games, so I don't want to understate it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
for me personally, it's a game I look at and go, I wouldn't if this was on Games Pass or something, and I had Games Pass, I would try it out. But I wouldn't spend a lot of money to essentially try out the game. I mean, it's got a demo, so I could try the demo.
yeah. It has a demo.
So I could try that
I
that
tried the
way.
demo first. I only bought it because of the demo.
But yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think
awesome.
it's for everyone. I think this is really what you're looking for. Like, you might go and go, oh, like they should really do more like deck building stuff with this. Because I think in my opinion, if they had another version of this game with like super deck building mechanics, it could also be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's not that at the moment. It's just that you collect cards, you use them. But it could be that. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Like, it has a demo. I would really recommend at least trying it. And the VR, from what I've heard of it from friends playing it, like the VR version is even better than the PC version. Um, and it's interesting. It is very interesting.
Do you want to talk about your final game?
Yeah. So this snuck in. I do not own a PS5. But my friend does. So I've played, I want to say 6 to 7 hours of this game now.
Right.
First hour and a half is like the tutorial. Hour of it is like the first is the tutorial, and then like half an hour after that is like story. So I've only really played 4 hours of the open world, which isn't
And
very much for this game. This is
just
Horizon Forbidden West.
just for context, you haven't played the first game either.
I have not played the first game properly. I've only played the tutorial with the first game.
Okay.
I've reinstalled it, and I want to play the first game now because I was having so much fun with the second game, effectively.
Right.
And oh my god, is it a beautiful game? It looks so good. I don't know.
I believe it
I don't
was
know how to
one of
describe
like
how good it
Digital
looks.
Foundry's best looking games of the year, like like graphically one of the best looking games of the year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
cool to
I
see.
love like the use of colors. I love the day and night. Like it looks good in the day. It looks good like at dusk. It looks good at night. I just like I love. I'm a big fan of like robotic things, and like having robotic animals is like really cool to me. That's kind of the same for the first game, but like there's more crazy stuff in this game. And it's like this is really cool. And I'm actually interested in the story as well. And I've just been having fun. I haven't gone to like the super like you have to do lots of stuff open world wise. I've been kind of just doing like following the open world main story with a little bit of side questing just to unlock so to get more visibility on the map. That's what I've really
Yeah.
done. So I can't really speak about how good the open world is, but what I've seen, there's something about having a really pretty world, like it just makes you want to just like run around in it, like and it's I don't know, it's just really good. It needs to be experienced. It looks really really
So
good.
here's a question for you. There's two
Yeah.
questions. Do you
Yep.
feel your experience of this game is different because you haven't played the first game? And
Um.
I'll let you answer that one.
Okay. I'll say that I was playing the tutorial of the first game. They added more stuff to it. I think I haven't played the tutorial of the first game. I would say so. Like, yeah, maybe like I don't know. I know the vagueness of the first game, and like to me, it's like this. I didn't really know what the story of the second game was. I didn't watch trailers of the second game, other than like the first teaser one, and I thought the second story would be worse than the first story. I'm actually more interested in this story than the first story at the moment. And I wasn't expecting that. That's like a massive surprise for me. And they've added some mechanic. They've added grappling hooks and gliding to this game that was not in the first game, which is really cool.
I love
Uh,
gliding. You know, I always say there's not a bad game with gliding in
yeah,
it.
yeah. I hope we haven't gone through enough. Like we only just started to like level us up. I really hope there's
Yeah.
like points you can put into this game where you can improve your gliding because I want more gliding and more better gliding. I hope they've
You're
done that. If
pro
not, that's a
gliding.
disappointment. But the gliding is fun. The gliding is fun.
Awesome.
What was the
My
second question?
second question was, if you play enough of this game on the PS5 and
Yeah,
Sony comes out and says, we're releasing it on PC in a year, would you
yeah.
purchase it on PC as well?
Uh, at the moment, yes, for the looks alone. I don't know about if I can. I don't know if I can explain. I don't know gameplay wise yet. I
Okay.
have fun. Like I quite. I will say okay. I will say this about combat and the gameplay. I like how every robot animal has different abilities, and you have to play differently against them.
Mm,
Whether it be that you're sneaking or you just like outright just attacking them directly. I
yeah.
quite like that. You already have to like think, oh, I'm attacking this enemy. I need to prepare for this, or I don't have this. I need to attack them in a different way because they're
Mm.
strong against this and weak against this. That was really cool to me. That the enemies felt so different and moved so differently to each other.
Yeah, because I
So
think
I would say yes.
with Sony's current strategy for PC, they've got it set up so it's about getting that PC audience who've never played your games. But a lot of people who are buying these are like double dippers who have played them on their
Yeah,
PlayStation, but are also
Yeah,
then going to buy them on their PC as well, which I find kind of
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting
I'm
to
a
hear you say that even if you played, let's say,
the
most of the
full game.
game on the
Yeah.
PS5, you would still get it on the PC as well, which I think's
I'm a
interesting.
big I'm a big advocate of like a lot of people say like, oh, this game has replayability because of X. You can play a game with this. I'm like, well, what's the point of doing that? Like, is that interesting? It's like an RPG. You can play a game from a different perspective. That's replayability. But
Mm.
I still think if you have a really good core, like even in a linear experience, which
Mhm.
arguably a lot of this game, despite having open world, has obviously a linear story. I would still argue if it's good enough, you just like it's like a good film. Like I've watched The Matrix One
So,
many times. It hasn't changed. I just like watching it. To me,
so
it's like that.
yeah. So, like, the year 2023 for Tony will be playing PS5 games,
Yeah,
and then the year 2023 for Joe will be Steam Decking and emulating. Will be like the theme of my
yeah.
year.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? But yeah,
Hmm.
I can't really say much more about this game. It looks fantastic.
I
I
I I
like
can't
the
wait.
characters. I like the
I
story.
already can't wait to talk about 2023 because I'm just going to tease it now. I've been playing a hell
Okay.
of a lot of Super Mario Galaxy. Holy shit, I love that game. I
Yeah.
played it
Well,
on the
you
Wii
haven't even to the
years
second one
ago.
yet.
No, I've played it on the Wii before, and I got to say
Yeah, same.
it's phenomenal.
I can
On
only imagine how good it
emulated
would be
as
on
well.
handheld.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Spoilers.
spoilers
Oh
for
wait, do I
next
have to
year.
pick?
Just what
Do
do you
I
have
have to
to?
pick a favorite game?
Only if you want to.
Okay, I will. It's V Rising. One thing I didn't mention when you were talking about V Rising
Yeah.
is for me, V Rising has. I have issues with a lot of survival games because, in theory, like
Mm.
I don't play that many. Like you've played more survival games than I have in the last like 4 years, and in theory, I should like more survival games. But I look at them and go, "Oh, this is mechanics I don't like." This solves a lot of those problems and like adds like the boss things to the progression of the building, and that is brilliant.
Yeah.
So for me, and it's a vampire game, and it makes you feel like a
You
vampire.
love vampires.
Yeah, I'm a vampire fanboy, and so V Rising is my choice. It is really fun. I still think about going. I want to play this game.
Hmm.
So V Rising is
Yeah.
my
From
choice.
from what I've played of V Rising, I gotta agree with you. It is a very cool game. Yeah, good choice.
Oh,
Uh,
and only an hour 17 minutes in, we can move on to the next section.
no, we can't because we haven't done honorable
What?
mentions yet.
That's true. That's true.
Uh,
Do I have oh no, I haven't mentioned the
you
other
have
one
an
yet, right?
honorable mention, yeah. So I'll go through mine quickly. So first up, literally just going to be a shout out because
Mm-hmm.
um, obviously we're already like over time on most of these.
Yeah.
Um, so otherwise, this podcast would, if I talked about every single one of these in depth, we would be here for like 20 hours. Um, but just to say, honorable mentions, shout out to the House of the Dead remake. It wasn't one of the best games 2022. It had a lot of issues, but
Yeah.
shout out to that.
Hilarious.
Shout out to the remaking these House of the Dead games. I think
Yep.
I've really been missing these sort of games, and I hope we get more of this sort of stuff. And then shout out to 20 Minutes Till Dawn. Another, it's sort of like it went along with that theme of like Vampire Survivors of the bullet hell game, like surviving against waves with that robot element. But in this one, it has the twist of, well, you actually shoot your gun in this one, so it's more like a standard bullet hell, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't played too much of the full game, but it's priced very fairly, like the Vampire Survivors, which is a couple of pounds. And I played a hell of a lot of the demo, 10 minutes till dawn. So yeah, honorable mention, and then we have your honorable mention, which
Yeah.
is
Dorf Romantic. The
a game that
Dome
technically
Romantic.
came out in 2022.
Yeah. The reason why I'm not talking about more is because I've already talked about it before when it was
Hmm.
in, I think, early access.
Yeah,
And yeah, it still was fantastic. I just haven't played enough of it. And I don't think it's changed that much, but it's still really good. I think it's worth mentioning. It's out now. I would recommend it. I'd very recommend it.
he would very recommend it.
Very recommended.
So let me go through next category, which is multiplayer. So these are the best multiplayer slash co-op games of 2022. Some of the co-op games may have snuck into the single player ones, but well, some co-op games can be great single player games at the same
Yeah,
time.
I think that's fine. I think that's acceptable.
So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Jackbox Party Pack 9. I think this is, again, and Jackbox games seems to come out every year, and my thoughts of it are usually, yeah, this is pretty fun. I like the Jackbox games. There's not much more to say about them. I mean, they always seem to come up with new, interesting game ideas, and I generally very much enjoy um, the games that they come with. I've been again really interesting this year for the demo fest. What they did was they essentially released like half the games that you could play through the demo fest, so I could just play them with my friends through Discord or whatever, and you got to test a bunch of the games early. And then the full game came out, and I was like, "Oh, we already know some of these games," and then we got to play some of the new games as well.
Yeah, so they've never done that before. They've not.
And they've never done that before, no.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So I guess they can get feedback and
Um,
like change it, maybe.
See, I think my favorite new game was non-sensory. Essentially, you had to try and you got a prompt and you had to put it onto a scale, and then you had to guess based on a drawing or a writing where on the scale this is between like two different prompts. It's a bit confusing to understand. It's like there'll be a prompt like this person is flying at the top, or this person
Right.
is on fire at the bottom, and someone would draw a picture of that on a scale, and the scale would be 6. So you would have to draw a picture of somebody who was at 6 of flying but not fire. It's a bit confusing to explain, but once you get into it, it is very very fun.
I I see
Um,
it being a very funny way of like you like getting annoyed is that other people don't get what you consider a
yes,
six.
yeah.
That sounds hilarious.
Um, Then I like Junk Topia, where you basically had to buy random items and then like write names and stories for them and try and sell them, sort of thing, which is very
Okay.
funny. There was another Fibbage game. Great, we've got another Fibbage. Quicksort was one of the games I didn't really like. Essentially, it was sort of like a quiz game where you could do it in teams or single player. Essentially, you would get a category like um, Fresh Prince of Bel Air lyrics, and then you would have to sort them by the order they appear in the song, and then you
Yeah,
take it in
it
turns
seems
like
weird.
placing them along a conveyor belt. But yeah, Jackbox is really fun. I really like Jackbox. So again, this year another great multiplayer game. Next up, I have Golf Gang. I talked about this in a Tangerine. I played a demo of it, and then I've played the full game. Really, really cool arcade race. Sorry, arcade golf game. Very fast pace. I love how like Arcadia is in the sense that a lot of the game is set up as like a race instead of like a standard, relaxing golf game. It has like glider mechanics, like fucking um lots of like explosion mechanics. There's lots of like unique rules you can put on. It has a custom level editor with workshop support, so people can make maps for it. Really, really awesome arcadey golf game. Turbo Golf. Speaking of awesome arcadey golf games, Turbo Golf Racing is the great blend of um, golf game and Rocket League. I would say it's like a weird blend of that, and it just works perfectly. This also might be my nomination for Knockout City Game of the Year, where last year I had Knockout City and I played the fuck out of it in the beta and I absolutely adored it. And then the full game came out and I played a bit of it and then just kind of petered off. Where it's like I played tons of this in the beta and then the full game came out and I'm like, yeah, I've kind of played this already. Like it's a good game, but it's not like something that just keeps me coming back for more and more and more. Um,
It makes sense.
yeah. think I might have footage of this next one. Let me just check. Don't think this has audio, so I've got to make sure to
Wait a
mute this. But and I'll make sure to stream it for you. Share my multiplayer co-op game of the year is Multiverses. This is an interesting one. I did not expect when I saw this game was coming out. I didn't expect this was going to be my multiplayer co-op game of the year, but this game is
No,
actually just phenomenal. It is really
I
fun
thought it
and
would
really
suck.
good. Me too. So essentially, I was like, "Oh, it's another Smash Bros. Clone, and it's free to play. How is that going to work?"
Mm-hmm.
But I saw streamers playing it, and it seemed like they went very hard on this idea of let's make a two-player co-op platform fighter, and it just
Yeah.
works really well.
Yeah.
Like the actual designers know what they're doing. They have designed a great platform fighter with memorable characters from lots of Warner Brothers franchises and beyond. And I played this with a friend, and we just had so much fun playing it. I was a Jake the Dog main, um, which is not something I thought I would ever say.
No.
But yeah, I genuinely love this game, and I don't think the monetization is awful in it. You
No.
basically have a weekly free roster of characters, and you unlock currency through playing the game in order to purchase characters to have them fully unlocked. So you can just play the game and unlock characters, which I think is a interesting system. It's not.
Yeah, I was going to mention like as a spectator of this game, it is also really good. Like they pull off thought into like what things
Yeah.
look like and what things like I can see what's happening. I can see
Yeah.
what's going on, and
Yeah,
I've
the
never played this
readability
game.
of everything is
Yeah,
really good in this game.
yeah. I also love. I see a lot. I've seen a lot of people complain about like why they just go like, oh, just load of random shit from Warner Brothers. It's like, nah, I like the fact it's just load of random shit together in one.
I mean, look at Smash Bros. There's a lot of like
Yeah,
Smash Bros. You have like fucking Minecraft Steve
yeah.
versus
I don't get the complaint.
Joker from Persona versus Mario
Yeah,
versus fucking I don't know Kirby or whatever.
Kirby,
Like,
Link, and Samus. It's just I don't
yeah.
understand this problem. Like I feel that was the whole point of this, that you get a load of characters that you have the right to, or you can get the right to, and
I think
make fun
that
characters in the
the
game.
biggest thing for this game was I would have never have played this probably if this game wasn't free to play. So I
Yeah,
managed to convince one of my friends to try it out with me, and we had a lot of fun. I genuinely love this game. I think it's the best multiplayer co-op game that came out in 2022.
yeah.
Really, really loved it. So I say that, but I've got another game to talk about, but it's in a separate category.
Okay.
But I'll get to that when I get to that.
Yeah, that's different.
And then I have a final one, which technically came out of early access in 2022. I'd already played it previously when it was in early access outside of 2022, but I went back and played the game in 2022 and genuinely really enjoyed the experience that I got from all the new content I hadn't experienced yet. Raft. Raft is one of my favorite survival crafting games of all time. I think it's phenomenal. I highly recommend this to most people. I mean, I almost have literally 100 hours in this game. I can't recommend it enough. It is a great blend of survival crafting and relaxing boating, fishing game, I guess. It is so
Right.
much fun and is a great co-op experience. I played this co-op this year, and I think they've done a fantastic job of adding all the extra content and finishing the story and the overall game of Raft. It is highly worth checking out, and I think it's one of the best games of 2022.
Yeah, it looks really good.
So, yeah, those are my multiplayer games. You have a couple here, so I'll just pull those up if you want to talk about one of those.
Wait, no, mine's the other one.
Oh, yours is part of
So
DLC, so
mine
I
10.
will talk
Yeah, I
about
think
these.
I have nothing. I have nothing to add to multiplayer apparently.
Tony doesn't play multiplayer games if they're not V Rising or
I guess technically, well, the thing is, V Rising and Demio could technically be in there, but I would still put it in just like general games because they can still be played by themselves.
Don't you want to
But
put like these games here?
uh,
Hang on. Aren't
that's
these
tr-
technically multiplayer games you
one,
play in 2022?
yeah, but that's played, not came
Okay.
out.
Okay. Let's go on to DLC.
Yeah, I think just leave as is.
The best DLC I played in 2022 was Cuphead: The Delicious Last Course. I've played Cuphead for the first time this year. I played a couple of bosses in a previous year, maybe around 2020. A friend bought the game for me and was like, I think it'd be really interesting to see you stream this. I was like, that's a great idea. I played it for a bit, and then I was like, I'm going to play something else. And then I came back to 2022. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play this. I played the entire game. I didn't record any of it. I forgot to stream. I didn't stream it to anyone. I essentially just sat down by myself and I played Cuphead, which is not something I normally do in like most years now. Like whenever I don't have internet and I sit down and I play single player games, I realize how much of my single player game playage is now inherently linked to being online. I'm either streaming the game to somebody or I'm sitting down and I'm talking to somebody while I play a single player game.
Yeah.
Which I find kind of interesting. But I played the whole of Cuphead. I thought it was phenomenal. This DLC came out. I was like, I've got to play this. I love Cuphead. I think it's one of the greatest games I've played in a long time. It's really, really fucking cool. Um, the art style, the movement, the actual music, everything about this game is great. And here's me playing the DLC. This is one of the challenges, which is
Oh,
essentially a
okay.
bunch of parry challenges. But one of the
Right.
things is you can't use any of your relics, so you can't use like your shadow dash, which I'm a big shadow dash user, which is why I'm like struggling. So just to quickly go into this, I go into every Cuphead boss completely blind, and I really enjoy the mechanic of trying to figure out how to beat the boss myself. So at the
Yeah.
beginning of each boss,
Learn the moves.
I will just completely suck and be awful. But I will say now, I have beat every boss in Cuphead. I have beat every boss in the DLC, and I've even gone and beat some of the secret bosses and cleansed the relic. If you know what I'm talking about, people who know will know. So I've played a lot of Cuphead now. I'll skip to because I think I go back and I did this later off camera. Guys, I beat all the bosses off camera. But here's a boss instead. One of the really cool things about the Cuphead was the DLC was there was a brand new character, so you got to play because Mugman and Cuphead, are, if you don't know, are essentially the exact same character. They're just like palette swapped. But they added the brand new character Miss Chalice, and she's really interesting because she controls completely differently to Cuphead. So, for example, with Cuphead, you parry by jumping, and then when you're in midair, you press jump again and it parries. And parrying is a really big thing in Cuphead because that's how you fill up your super meter, which then lets you unleash your big special move. But for Miss Chalice, she parries by dashing. And I found this really fucking hard to use because I'd literally just beat the game as Cuphead, and I had this muscle memory of playing Cuphead, so I found it really hard to use Miss Chalice. So I actually beat every single boss of the Cuphead DLC as Cuphead, which I don't know if I think most people probably use Miss Chalice because I think Miss Chalice has a lot of like really strong abilities. To use Miss Chalice, you do have to use a relic slot to switch to her, which means you can't. You essentially lose a relic slot, so you lose like a really big relic slot, like a Shadow Dash, which essentially when you dash, instead of just dashing, you teleport to the end of your dash, which means you can teleport through projectiles and stuff like that, which makes a lot of stuff a lot easier. Magabagabu, whatever the hell he's saying on the phone. But Miss Chalice has a lot of really cool, like, powerful stuff. Like, she has a double jump, for example, which is something Cuphead doesn't have. She has the ability to regain health mid-battle, which is something that's very powerful. She has like the ability to like infinitely parry stuff as well for more attack, um, which makes her very powerful. I think so. Pretty much for the entire DLC, I beat pretty much every single boss as Cuphead. There was one of those parry challenges I was doing where you essentially had to parry a bunch of heads back at like this executioner, and I was like, it did feel like those parry challenges were specifically designed for Miss Chalice. So for one of those challenges, I did play as Miss Chalice, and I found it a lot easier than playing as Cuphead. But for almost all the bosses in the DLC, I played as Cuphead again. I literally just played the entire game as Cuphead, so I had that muscle memory of Cuphead, and I found the DLC still be incredibly fun as Cuphead. So if you're somebody who's going into this like, I don't want to play as Miss Chalice, you can play the entire DLC as Cuphead if you want, which is something that I
Yeah,
chose to do.
I would have assumed you had to play the new character. I didn't realize there was like
No,
a choice.
you can play as Miss Chalice, Mugman, Cuphead. Cuphead has a two-player mode, which is
Oh
where
right.
Mugman usually comes in. The entire game, you can play two-player if you want. One of the interesting things that they did for the DLC is I believe they got rid of the run and gun stages, which I think were the weakest part of Cuphead. Where when Cuphead shines, it is a boss fighting simulator, whereas in the original Cuphead game, you have these like traditional platforming sections,
Yeah.
which weren't that great in my opinion. They were okay, but I think the boss fights were where Cuphead was at its best. Uh, yeah, so just looking up, there is no run and gun levels in the DLC, so that's what made it quite interesting. But again, all of the bosses are incredibly well designed and really fun to go against. I loved here, like, my strategy to beat this boss was probably completely different to how another person's strategy to beat this boss was, which I find really interesting in going in blind and doing it my own way. Like, you'll see me swap out to the map at one point and I just switch out my weapons. That's another interesting about Cuphead is you have a bunch of weapons you unlock by getting coins throughout the levels, and then that allows you to change completely how you play. I'm a big fan. I like Cuphead's default weapons, like the pea shooter and the blast gun, as you see here. The blast gun's interesting because it deals heavy damage close up, but then if you're not directly hitting with all three of the spread shots, you're not doing a lot of damage.
Oh right. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the charge shot. It allows you to do a lot of damage very quickly. And then also I quite like there's a couple of bosses that are quite. There's a gun that does very little damage, but it automatically aims for you, sort of thing, which is quite good. Which I think I used on this boss. I don't use it very often, but I did think I used it on this boss. Where my strategy for this boss is when it went to the second phase, with the woman when she was spinning around with the laser beams, I essentially just stayed at the top and then just shadow dashed through the beams, which is while doing the auto aiming gun, which I found very useful. Let's skip ahead a bit. Be more later. I switched the charge shot here. You've Cuphead's a game where I feel like watching it is almost as great as experience as like playing it
Well,
sometimes.
in
Like in
terms of the
terms,
animation style and
yeah, the
art style, you
animations, the
mean?
music,
Yeah,
everything is
yeah.
so fucking
Um,
good.
and we don't get this in like films or like shows anymore, so
Yeah,
it's nice to see it somewhere.
it's great animation. I thought
Yeah.
this was like for me. I thought Cuphead was going to be for me like, oh, it's just a rage simulator. It's designed to be really hard for no reason, or um, it's just going to be a not a great experience. I'm just going to feel awful, angry all the time. But actually, genuinely, I love Cuphead, and my feeling after playing a boss was I want to fight another boss, like most of the time. Um, which is like such an awesome thing to, feel in a game like this. Which is really cool to see.
Because like I feel like I don't know how it still looks difficult to me, but like I can see like patterns and like
Mm.
it's like not. It's obvious what they're doing, but it's in like the tricky part is like showing what
I
how to deal
mean,
with it, right?
There's tough bosses. I mean, I Kink Dice made me want to destroy my computer. But
Yeah,
apart from that, most bosses I was like, this is
pretty
tough, but
reasonable.
I really
Yeah,
enjoy the mechanics. I think the
yeah, yeah.
mechanics are really well designed.
Because I'm
Like,
watching this one, I'm like, oh, you're dying a lot, but like, I would want to replay this again because like, I could see like, oh no, I just need to do that more, or
mhm.
like try and get rid of that and do better with that sort of thing. Like, I'd want to try again.
Hmm.
But I think I'd be terrible at these sort of games. That is, I'm not best at, I guess, combat platformers. Like, is that where you'd like put this at?
Yeah, boss fighter. I don't know where
Yeah.
you would categorize
I
Cuphead.
I'm just saying, carry like in terms of like you got platforming obviously, and then be like you were doing damage and things. I
Yeah.
guess it's action or yeah, combat platformer with bosses as its
See my
primary.
strategy here. I'm just shadow dashing through
Yeah,
the beams here, which is like may not be in how you beat this boss, but this is how I beat the boss. So it's just
yeah. I think
interesting.
if you're further away, it moves faster, but you got more room to wait
Yeah.
for the beam.
Oh, so you're invincible when you're using a special move, which is why I
Oh my god.
intentionally sort of went into that
Oh
one
my
because I knew I
god.
had iframes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is the next part of the boss where he like licks his tongue at you and you have to try and dodge it. It's like this setup is like it's a mob family, so you have to fight each member of the mob, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I kind of gathered that. It's really cool. Like you can get like their entire story from their animation.
Mm.
That's really cool.
Oh, the clutch shadow dash there. Like how he's like, oh, I'm gonna shoot here. No, I'm not. So in Cuphead, when you beat the boss, it will say knockout, and you will be immune from damage, and the fight's over. You can walk around for a little bit. This boss has a fake knockout where it goes knockout, and then there's a final phase with this little fucking snail. I've seen so many people get like fucked by that, where there's with the fake out knockout on this boss, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, you get graded on your stuff, and you can like go and S rank stuff by not getting hit, doing 3 parries, and fully filling your like super meter.
Oh,
Um,
so you, like parry, you need to do that.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, Cuphead, the Delicious Last Course, is fucking phenomenal. Oh, one thing I will mention, um, different people will find different bosses more difficult than others. It's hard to put difficulty on a scale in this game.
Yeah.
So I struggled with like King Dice was really fucking hard for me. I know it was hard for a lot of people, but I was losing it because I couldn't get the parry mechanic down on the dice. Where essentially on my winning run on King Dice, I essentially fought every single optional boss in the game, in order to
That's
face him. Um, which is not something that most people would recommend if you can, roll the dice correctly. But I was like, I can't roll the dice. I'm just gonna fight I'm gonna learn to fight every single mini boss and then kill him. Um, but I then went to fight the devil, which some people would say is harder than King Dice, but I preferred it. I really enjoyed the mechanics of the fight. Um, one of the final, I guess, spoiler alert for the story of this is I don't know if I want to. I'll just say the final boss of this DLC. I literally went into it. I'd never played it. I went into it and I one shot it. I was on Discord at the time and I said, "That's it. The game's over." Like I wasn't amazed. Not that I thought, "Oh, this was really easy," but I was amazed that I'd somehow one shot the final boss, like without realizing it was the final boss of the game. Because I
It's
know,
insane.
because I thought I was going crazy. I went online. I was like, "Do people think the final boss is hard?" And everyone was saying this boss is really hard, and I was like, "But I one shot it. I don't understand." But it's just like to show you, like when you build up these mechanics and you get them down. Sometimes you can just go in and like one shot boss, and sometimes you can just find difficult bosses easy and easy bosses difficult. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
beauty of
yeah.
Cuphead. Everyone finds different stuff at different difficulties, but this is the best DLC of the year, and it's probably the only DLC I really played this year. To be honest with you,
Right.
I don't know if you can think of it. Oh, you've got some DLCs now, don't you?
I have DLCs. Yeah.
I don't play much DLC really. To be honest with you. Or at least I haven't this year. So
I guess the way I play games, like I'm more likely to play DLCs because like I'm like on the same one and then I wait for updates and things, especially
yeah,
from Paradox. You can get both these games are published by Paradox, although they're not developed by the same people, obviously.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll start from the top, I suppose.
yeah.
I really like Stellaris Overlord.
Tony and Stellaris, name a more iconic duo.
Yeah,
Tony,
well,
this store page has very mixed reviews. Tell me what's going
yeah,
on here.
I don't. Some people are saying it's unplayable. I was trying to read it earlier.
Okay.
I don't know if what they're saying is accurate to the DLC, but I guess even if it's the update, that is kind of correct. But I would not say it's unplayable.
Hang on.
I do have issues with the current
You,
build of Solaris,
you.
but
I'll put on my wireless headphones. I'm just gonna go to the toilet, and then you keep
okay,
talking. And I'll be right back.
okay. So yeah, I I think this is really cool. So the point of Overlords is it gives. I don't know if anyone playing no like you don't want to be in Civ, right? I don't think this is a mechanic, but like you either are playing the main game or you're dead. In Solaris, there's been a thing for a while. You can become a subject of another empire, and for the longest time, that was basically if that had happened to you in your single player game, like that's basically that you've basically activated hard mode. You'd have to try and find a way to get out from under them because like they're taking so much away from you and like they're basically controlling what you can do, and you have to like wait. Like it got better over time. Like other DLCs and updates added it. So like I think the 2.0 update made it so you could fight back in a better way and like have better wars. 'Cause, like it was like a war update to it. But in this case, you now can when you have a subject, there's like a loyal. So this is from like the hence why it's called Overlord. This is from the point of view from the Overlord. You can this is more against AI, I suppose, but so you get like a loyalty number or a loyalty value with them, and depending on what you've negotiated with them. So there's now a negotiation stream when you request or they accept an overlord or become a subject to you, and depending on what you do, that you can like increase. Like you could like I think what you're meant to do is like min max it in a way where like you like initially I'll give you like really favorable terms, and then later on I was like no, now we've got like max loyalty, like I might as well just like even it out or like even make it negative for a little bit to get some bonuses off it. But from the subject's point of view, it's really interesting because they can now specialize. I think it's into three. They can either be like super defensive,
Yeah.
and like whether they have like really strong defenses and like really strong like military stuff. Like not really like for war, and like they still give like so to be clear, all these specializations give more bonuses to the overlord, but it means you can specialize your empire. The three are it's research, war, like bastion, and I want to say I can't. I always forget what the third one's. I wonder if it's on it. Hang on. No, did not. They did not want to say it. That might be part of the update. That's why it's not on there. But there's a third one which is also decent. But I think those two are considered the really good ones. Is why I can only remember those two. Like, because obviously one of them is like you're protected by your overlord, and like you're now like pumping out research for both you and your overlord, which is really good. The other thing that this DLC adds is some really, in my opinion, really cool mega structures or like structures you build into space. One of them,
What's a mega structure?
that's just something like a big structure. I don't know, like have you? I assume you have not gone to the late game where you've built. I don't know. What's the easiest one? Like you ever like an arts. I can't remember what it's called, but like a space arts college sort of thing. You never like built something like that.
I've never built anything, mate.
Okay. Basically, the mega structure is like you send a construction ship in, and then like you can like build like you start building different phases in space. It's like a big thing. These are more like these come to you like a lot earlier on. These are more like on the gateway level of like mega structures, but they're technically mega structures, but not really. But the first one is the planetary ring, which gives you some extra buildings you can put on to like start specializing your planets a little bit more, which is really cool. Like
Mhm.
that you can now do that. It just and you get you visibly get like a ring, like a metal ring around your planet, which is just really fucking cool. The one I actually like way more, I can't remember what they call it. It's like I don't, but wait, what is it? Does it say here? No. No, they didn't say what it is. But basically, they're like hyper relays. They're like gateways. So when you in okay, normally in Solaris, if you're sending ships from like all stars are like connected to other stars by like hyperlanes. Normally, you have to enter a star system from the hyperlane, then travel across the star system to the entrance of another hyperlane. If you build a hyper relay in one and like two neighboring, they have to be connected in two neighboring systems. You no longer have to travel across the solar system. You can just get out, start charging, and get out to the other side. It's like really quick to get across. So they're not replacements for gateways, so they come before gateways. But they have once you connect to others, they have other bonuses that you can have like on your own empire, but also to your subjects. You can start using these relays or these relay networks to like push your stuff. And to me, it's like this fixes subjects. That being a subject is now cool. Having subject is now really cool. And it's like having like you can like spend resources to try and make moving your ships across your territory is like an interesting like actually adding interest to space instead of just being everything's kind of samey. And I just
Mhm.
think it adds a hell of a lot. And I think that's really, really cool. And I would very much recommend this DLC. I don't know what people are saying when it failed, so maybe look at it, see what they're
Here's a
saying.
question: would you consider Stellaris more of a multiplayer game or a single player game?
Either. I don't.
Okay.
Either. I play single player a lot. The
Yeah.
moment I've been wanting to play multiplayer,
Yeah.
it really depends. It depends like what, because like with all these updates, like the lot of this like makes us like playing with AI is very interesting. I know we're like Civ players. A lot of them are like, I only want to play with like no AI. Like I just want to be like a competitive game. To me, even in Civ, like I like the concept of having like to try and deal with AI, and Solaris like really takes that on board and like you build federations with AI, you try and become subjects with AI, you try and have trade deals with AI, and that really helps you. So either you can do either, and it's different dynamics for what you want. I mean, you could like in my play, you could either be like just decide to do it cooperatively or like aggressively towards each other. You can do many things with that. But yeah, this fixes and changes and like makes it more interesting than a lot of the game that I wanted change for the longest time, and it feels really good. Like more negotiation, more stuff is better. It's great.
You weren't sure whether to put some of the Stellaris stuff under DLC or whether under updates, because sometimes a lot of the DLC comes with updates.
Yeah, so some of what I was talking about is technically in the update, but when looking through this, I realized that most of the stuff is like enhanced by the DLC, the DLC.
Hmm.
So it's more the DLC than the update, I would say, is what they've improved. You don't get the specialization stuff with the update, and you don't get the mega structures with the update, but you do get the negotiations with with the update, which is still good, but like you get more negotiations with the DLC.
Yeah.
So yeah, I a very, very good DLC in my opinion.
But
I have a history of disagreeing what people believe is good DLC.
okay.
I still think Mega what's that called? What are they called?
Megacorps.
Megacorps, thank you. I still think Megacorps is one of the best DLC. I read the reviews for it. I'm like, oh, I don't even play Megacorp. It's like, well, one, there's going to be Megacorps in your galaxy. Two, as the Eucumenopolis city world, is something you can get as a mega structure. That's not nothing. That's how mega structures should have always been. Eucumenopolises are great, and apps, and work with the new ring systems as well. By the way, you can have a new Monopolis with a ring around it, so it's fantastic. That's all I'm going to say on that.
And you think this is the best Stellaris DLC that came out this year?
Is the other one was a species pack. I've not got it
Okay.
yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, they focus more on fixing stuff, I think, and preparing for other stuff in the future this year or last year, I suppose.
Hmm.
And the other one, which also has mixed reviews, but I've now messed around with it. I haven't got into the end game of this, but it's City Skylines, Plazas and Promenades.
Get the old
Which
plazas up. Here we go.
and it was a a perfect timing, as you know, Joe, because I was walkable cities is something I wanted to mess around with in City Skylines this year, about September time when this DLC came out, and I've only got it over Christmas, so I was messing around with it before that, with walkable stuff with mods and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, this I don't think the trailers of this DLC really explains this properly. So I'm going to just briefly explain the point of this DLC. Um, do you know? I'm generally explain it, but do you know that the stuff about how parks and drawing or like coloring like districts and things works in City Skylines?
Yeah.
Okay. So normally, so not the normal district thing is that let's say you've like built like a region and like, oh, I want this to be like a town or like a district with like different policies and things. So you like color in a region, and it's then you color in that region around, and that's your district. You can name it, you can give it new policies, it will give you some information about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then after since I can't remember when it first started, but like parks especially adds this like it's like a special district that you can paint, which is independent from the normal district. So you can put a park special district inside a normal district, but you can't have a park district and a plazas district, for example. They have to be that those are mutually exclusive. So you'd have one district like with a smaller district inside it that has a park, and a small district as well that has a plazas district. So the idea is you'd paint a plazas district, and you're limiting vehicle traffic, and it's like really designed for people walking in between.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's painted like this is because this is how they sold, I suppose. But their question was like, how would you get like trash out of it, and how would you get goods into it and things like that. So they had it. So they made it so you have to build a building on the outside of it to get goods in and out as a trading point, basically, so like for where vehicles can come and drop stuff off, and then they walk it inside. So that's the reason why it's a paintable area and not just something you can do everywhere. Because technically the roads work outside of these places, but they don't work with buildings on top of them. They won't work until they're in this proper district.
You were kind of frustrated how City Skylines was so road centric.
Yes. There are many things where it's like, oh, this has to take the road through this. This technically doesn't solve this per se, because like you still need vehicles to take it there. But now that there's a single drop-off point, you can technically just like, okay, this is like a utility road. Like, I don't have to like put too much onto it. It just needs to have stuff flowing for it, and like bring it to a train or something. That's something I have not tested yet, is like how that works with like trains and things inside of these sort of districts. This is why I can't get into too much detail, like how it really plays out. But I have tested like a medium-sized district, like, and it just worked kind of flawlessly. And it's like everyone was walking about, and it's like, oh, I can actually like get in, connect it to a park next to it, and it's like, oh, this is working brilliantly. So I was having a lot of fun doing that.
Tony, I'm a little bit disappointed because there was another DLC that came out for City Skylines this line that I was a big fan of. The African Vibes DLC.
Yeah.
The City Skylines, which added a brand new radio station.
Yeah, you thought they had like new assets, and like you thought like an asset pack, right?
Yeah.
Or, like adds like new building. Yeah, I thought it might be something called, oh, African buildings. That sounds kind of cool. Oh wait, no, we're talking about.
I thought it was going to be like Zoo Tycoon. There was like a bunch of elephants.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. Like maybe like even like a heritage thing was like trying to protect like heritage. That'd be really cool. Yeah. But no, maybe later. I do think in general media does not talk about like African history enough, and it's like a massive shame. And I thought, oh, this is like the first time they might be adding something. It's like, no, not really. But yeah, plazas, from what I've experienced, it's simple in the sense is like not much is added, like in terms of like number of items, but I think it does change like similar how parks doesn't really add like a huge amount of stuff other than like props, I suppose. But not
Mm,
really like anything else. Like, but it still adds a lot to like how you can build the. I really like the parks DLC. Like, it adds
yeah.
a lot to how like you build your cities. Like, have like a little park in the middle to increase your land value and make people happier. This to me
Mm,
is kind of similar, but for more transport and getting around. And I think that it works. And for what I want as a walkable city, it works really well. So again, have not tested it on a larger scale or how it interacts with other mechanics, but as they've as intended, like how they like advertise it, it seems to be working. Whether it works with future stuff, we'll see.
mm.
But I really
So,
like what I've seen of it so far.
Tony, you've get instead of copping out by only giving one DLC as your DLC of the year, you've given two. So you have the choice
Yeah,
now to choose the best DLC of the year. What would that be?
I'm gonna have to give it to plazas and promenades.
Okay.
I keep looking into like public transport, trams, and like metros and like walkable cities. That's still like the thing I'm thinking about,
Mm,
and this allowing me to do more of that is really really good.
mm.
I want both of these DLCs. I want to mess around more of because I've not gone to late game Solaris yet in the current update and the current DLCs, and I've not gone late with the with plazas either. But from what I've seen of both of them, halfway through, I want to say the content of both of those, I suppose. I would put it to plazas and promenades for sure.
All right, let's move on to VR, which you probably have nothing to say about,
Nope.
but I have a couple of VR games. I played uh, some big VR games, not very impactful to me this year, or 2022, and I played a couple of games that came out in 22 that I thought were pretty good. So let's on to that. Uh, so let's start with VR games 2022. There's two here. Um, let's talk about the first one, and the first one is uh, Among Us VR. Um, again, Shell Games came out. One of my favorite VR developers. I think they are very good. Um, they essentially took the idea of Among Us and perfectly ported it over to VR. There's not much
Was
more I
it?
can say about that.
Was this show games too? Were they the
I
Expect You
Expect
to
You
Die
to
people?
Die, yeah.
Okay.
Which I Expect You to Die 1 and 2, two of my favorite VR games of all time.
Yeah, yeah, they're really good.
Absolutely phenomenal. Um, yeah, this game's really good. I've had a lot of fun playing it, and I'm looking forward to playing some more. So I haven't loaded up my VR system in a long time, so I need to load it up a bit more. I haven't played it.
Before summer comes.
I haven't played it since October or something. So I need to. Yeah, because I always say like it's too in the summer I want to play loads of VR, and I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
it's too hot to play VR. And then the winter comes, and I go, I don't want to play VR anymore. So I need to actually.
Yeah.
I it's the most annoying thing. I haven't played Half-Life 2, the VR mod, and
Oh,
I wanted to talk about it on the podcast for the VR
as a
awards
mod.
as a
Yeah.
mod, but I can't because I haven't played it, and it looks phenomenal. And
Hmm.
yeah, I wrote it down in anticipation that I would play it, but I didn't. So unlucky, unlucky. Um,
Too busy. That's the excuse you have to give.
yeah, Among Us VR, very, very good. And I've got another one. I got some footage of it because I recorded some, but we haven't talked about it on Tangerine. Let me pull that up. It is a game called Tentacular. Tentacular.
I keep forgetting this is published by Devolver Digital.
Yeah, it is published by Devolver. Let me share it with you now. This is Tentacular. It is a game about being a giant squid in VR. Uh, that is it. I mean, it does have a very good sense of humor to itself. The story is that, there's this city of like little people, basically, or I guess normal sized people if you're a giant, like
Yeah.
Godzilla sized tentacle monster. You're having a conversation with your sister, and she goes, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're actually adopted because she's like a small little miniature person, and you're like a giant tentacle monster. Um, the
You just
general
couldn't
I-
believe it.
the general idea of the game is essentially you've been living on this like harbor town, and you essentially it's your birthday now. They tell you the truth, and they're like, you need to get a job basically. So you have to go around the town helping people, like moving crates, rescuing people, doing stuff like that. Essentially, in the beginning, this game was like incredibly charming and very fun. It never took itself too seriously.
Yeah.
Um,
So like Octodad.
yes, but I would say in the same way, like I love Omnibus in the beginning. It became
Yeah.
very tedious at a point where,
Too gamey.
yeah, there was no like option to skip levels. Like, there's a lot of like fun and interesting stuff where you have mechanics like you use telephone poles to like slingshot crates at things and stuff like that, or stacking things. But like certain parts of this game became like um what's that game called? Polybridge, where I
Hmm.
stopped playing that game because it was like you need to build like
A very janky.
a very janky perfect physics bridge, and it was just like,
Yeah.
but you're a giant tentacle monster, and if you don't get it exactly right, you're not going to be able to advance. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not enjoying this game anymore. At that, like, I was physically
You need
angry at this game at certain
because it's a
points.
funny game. You need more leeway for things like this. In
Yeah,
my opinion, it's
like
don't make it
in the
too
beginning, I
gamey.
played this and I was like, this may be one of the best games of 2022, and then I was like fucking screaming. I was like, I this is so frustrating that I can't
Yeah.
like get past this level because I just don't perfectly play. There's like a bunch of magnets later on, and you have to like start
Oh
building
god.
like bridges and stuff with magnets and stuff like that. Like I like the general idea, but again, it reminds me of Omnibus where
Yeah.
you needed to
I
keep that balance between fun and janky controls very balanced, whereas this is not. It starts off quite well balanced and then gets very much into the precise controls camp
yeah.
as it goes on, which I wasn't a big fan of.
If they ever fix this in an update, would it become the best update of the year?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we are going to be doing updates of the year. Um, I mean, I like the story. I think some of the puzzles are pretty cool. That like actually
Yeah.
just throwing. One of my favorite parts is just going into the town and just pretending to be a giant monster and just be like, "Oh, I'm a giant monster and I'm going to smash things." I always love that in games. Like, I've been playing Psychonauts recently, and there's a level where you go in somebody's mind and you are just a giant monster and you're like destroying buildings, and it reminds me of like the Clank missions in Ratchet and
Oh, the
Clank.
big giant
Yeah,
clanks.
the
Yeah,
giant
yeah,
Clank
yeah. Yeah,
missions, which I'm
those
just
are
like, those
great.
are always so fun to play.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if we could channel more of that energy, and
Yeah, yeah.
it,
It's kind of a similar problem I have with Octodad actually, where it's like the start is hilarious and then it becomes more tedious in my opinion. And yeah, less game. I think with funny stuff, less game, more fun.
hmm. Yeah, I just think if you take away some of the precision and just give more leeway, like look at
Yeah, yeah,
obviously I'm not trying to compare this to Alex, but like with Alex, the you're giving so much leeway, like throwing stuff and stuff like that. You need to be less precise in a lot of these puzzles, where it's just more
yeah.
about you're a giant octopus, you're trying your best, but
I just
yeah,
think the more funny you're going, the less precise you should make it, in my opinion.
yeah,
Because the point is you're having fun and it's funny.
yeah. But yeah, there's still some fun to be had with this game. I mean, just throwing little people into the sky and stuff like that.
yeah.
Just picking a number like, oh, I'm a giant monster, yeet! Um, but yeah, I
Yes,
just,
good.
yeah, this game won't be for everyone because, you know, some of it wasn't for me because of the precision there. So I think those are my VR games that came out 2022. And my VR game of the year is Among Us VR.
Oh wait, so it wasn't Hitman 3?
No, it wasn't fucking Hitman 3. I think Among Us VR was the best game of 2022 in my opinion. Again, I didn't play every VR game that came out in 2022. I haven't played Bone Labs, for example.
Hmm.
But to be honest with you, the VR space is not crazy popping.
No.
Where I feel like Tentacular and Among Us VR may be some of the best VR games that came out in 2022, aside from like Quest exclusives or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think Among Us VR is genuinely an incredible VR game and is very deserving of this title. And then we'll move on to best VR game I played in 2022. So we'll start with Star Trek Bridge Crew. Again, I've played this before in previous years, but I've fully sat down and played it with a full crew. I played it with my friend Halo Andy, um, Wrestling Matt, and I think Vietnam Dave as well. We had like a full crew of people playing, and it was really fun. We pretty much played all the encounters, and I gotta say, it is really, really fun to play Star Trek in VR. It's a shame you can no longer purchase this game
Yeah.
anymore.
It looks fantastic, and
As a
this is this is why I try and buy VR games without owning VR.
I think when I first played this, I wasn't like I hadn't watched as much Star Trek as I had now, so I went in and I was like, "What the hell is
Right.
the Kobayashi Maru?"
Right.
But
Right.
now I go into it and I love everything, how like authentic it is to all the Star Trek stuff,
Yeah.
and I can say from my perspective, I was playing captain, and then I had a friend on tactical. Someone goes on to um, engineering, and then somebody is like the helmsman sort of thing,
Mhm.
um, which I think is really really awesome. Usually, because
Who
you
is
can.
Tuvok?
Who was Tuvok?
Yeah.
We had a Worf.
Right. You didn't have
Our
a
ta- our
Tuvok.
our, tact- our tactical officer wanted to blow everything up.
Okay.
Um, don't know. On the Kobayashi Maru on this game, I tried to essentially save everyone by teleporting everyone over. And because if you don't know the Kobayashi Maru, it's an unwinnable situation.
Yeah.
Um,
They're trying
there's
to get the best out of a worse
there's
situation.
a ship in the neutral zone which would violate the peace treaty with the Klingons. Um, whereas what's it called? It's not called the Khitomer Accord. It was pre-Khitomer Accords, right? Um,
Yeah, it's probably
essentially,
just the neutral zones before that. Yeah.
um, there's a ship in the neutral zone and it's being attacked by a Klingon ship. Do you sit by and do you watch the Klingons destroy the ship, or do you try and fight the Klingons off and try and save the crew of the ship?
Can Can I just point out something?
Yeah,
This is a Star Trek round.
we're
Why
talking about
is
Star
it?
Trek. You can talk about Star
Yeah,
Trek.
okay, that's fine. Yeah. Why is it in the neutral zone?
Yeah,
Whoever's say it's the Romulan neutral zone. Can you explain to me why the Romulans are allowed in the neutral zone but the Federation
they're
aren't? And
not.
in the Klingon neutral zone,
They're
why are the
not.
Klingons allowed in it?
The whole point of the neutral zone is neither of them are supposed to be in it.
Yeah. Why are they in it? Would you not? Shouldn't you be like legally speaking? Would you be able to go? What are you doing in the neutral zone? Get out of the neutral zone. I never understood that. Like, Star Trek
That's
always does
that's
this, and
what
it's like
happens.
Starfleet is always the one in the wrong.
They do this a lot in TNG, where they're like,
Yeah,
"You're not supposed to be in the neutral zone either. What the fuck are you doing here?"
yeah,
And then sometimes they're like mutual cooperation. Sometimes because they're like, "Well, I'm not supposed to be here, and you're not supposed to be
yeah.
here."
The ones where they do that, it makes more sense. But a lot of time, it's like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, I really love this game. I think it's awesome to play Star Trek in VR, and yeah, it's a shame you can no longer play it. I mean, I wish there was more classic Star Trek stuff. It is more like modern Star Trek sort of
Yeah,
themed.
like Kelvin stuff.
There is a TNG
But
DLC,
yeah, yeah.
uh, which you can get. Wait, can you buy this game still on Steam? I thought they took it down.
I thought they took it down at one point. Is it back up?
Don't know. It says you can purchase it. So can you buy Star Trek Rich Crew?
Maybe you can't activate a key if you actually buy it? It doesn't have a warning like that, though.
Star Trek Bridge Crew was first listed on Steam and Opera Store on February 10th, 2022. Next disappeared. It's relisted apparently.
Okay.
Got
I
relisted again. Okay, so
wonder
you
if they just
can
had,
play this again.
I wonder if they just had licensing issues, maybe.
I never heard that it was relisted, so that's interesting
No,
news to me.
no.
Guys, you can play Star Trek Bridge Crew in VR. Awesome. Oh, I also
I
want
didn't
to
get the
Kobayashi.
DLC.
In the
The
Kobayashi
DLC's
Maru,
here.
I dropped my shields in order to transport over 6 people.
Oh no.
Because you transport 6 at a time. I transported 6 people, and then I got like immediately blown up. That's how I did the Kobayashi Maru.
Because you load your shields.
Yeah. But yeah, awesome game. Next up, we have 11 table tennis, which I have footage for here on the on my VR stuff. Let me put this up.
So this is a Wii tennis?
Wii tennis, yeah. So
I just Wii sports tennis.
I know what you're saying. You're sitting there and you're saying, it's just table tennis and VR. And that's immediately what I thought. I kept seeing VR game lists of the year, and they kept saying, like, 11 table tennis is one of the best VR games you can get in VR right now. And I was like, it's just table tennis and VR. I don't get it. But eventually I got it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to play this. And yeah, it's sort of so much more. It is really fucking fun. It's hard to describe to somebody who doesn't have VR how much fun playing table tennis in VR is.
Well, I like
Um,
table tennis. I can see it's been very fun, but
I went into this with like I don't really ever play table tennis.
yeah.
But I know a lot of people who played online were people who were avid table tennis players that I played against. So when I got this to play like just against my friend. Me and my friend played a ton of this against each other online in our VR headsets, and then the system has it so you can get invited by other people to play online. People just kept sending me invites, and I was like, okay. So I just kept playing table tennis online with strangers randomly, and some people were like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you so bad at table tennis? I'm like, I don't play table tennis in real life. Some people were like, yeah, it's you can. I was just talking to people, and it was like, it was so interesting to see. So many people are playing on Quest 2s. They were like, what is this weird headset thing you've got that shows up? And I'm like, oh, I'm playing on a Vive. And they were like, what the hell's a Vive? I'm playing on a Quest 2. Um, but yeah, so many people on this, like, legitimately, I think professional table tennis players use this game to train to play table
Yeah.
tennis. Like,
Yeah.
people were playing in the pandemic, people were playing table tennis tournaments on 11 table tennis, which I find so interesting.
I guess it's kind of like professional like race drivers like playing like racing sims. It's like to me it made no sense. Like, but I guess they like the sport they're in. I suppose.
Yeah, so the number one thing I'll say about online is the easiest way to win is, for me, I really struggle to hit the sides of the table because that's when my VR space runs out. And then it's to
All right.
find where your opponent can't go on the board because they have like a printer in the way. And then you just hit the ball there constantly. And then they're like, oh shit, I hit the printer again. And you're like, yeah. Guys, to win at table tennis, you have to find your opponent's weakness. And sometimes that's the printer.
Only in VR.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, but it's great. It's got great, playing against your friends and multiplayer. It's got great online multiplayer, and there's even like single player game modes. There's like a beer pong implementation you can
Can
play
you upgrade
against.
your house or something? Like, or is it just
No,
like
there's no
different arenas?
progression
Okay.
really, but there is like I guess just practice, I guess, and getting better is the main driving
Yeah,
force.
yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see stuff like that where you can upgrade
Like a
your place and
like a
stuff. I
sport a
think that'd be really
campaign
cool.
going from the bottom to the top sort of thing. That'd be really cool.
But the amount of like feeling of just how good it feels to just hit a table tennis ball around in this game is great. Like, and all the mini games with like practicing your shots or just playing beer pong and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm just like, this is the best implementation of beer pong in VR available, guys. Have you played beer pong before?
Well, in real life,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember. Wait, have I
yeah.
played it with you?
I was there.
Okay, because I've been playing quite a lot of beer pong in real life recently. Like the past year, I played it like 2 or 3 times.
I can't remember.
Um,
Was it in 22? It might have been in 21. It was technically.
no,
It
I
might have been
played
at
in
the start of 22.
2022. That's for
I'm in
sure.
22 then. Yeah, I think it was 22 when I was in there.
But yeah, guys, great to practice your beer pong. Uh, oh, here it is. Here's the beer pong minigame.
Oh, okay.
Practicing getting in those cups.
That's kind of. Wait, no one
Yeah.
drinking out of them though?
Yeah, you unfortunately you have to take your own shots outside the VR.
Yeah. Not then again, when I played when I was involved with the beer pong,
You're
I didn't
drinking
drink any of them,
Pepsi,
obviously. No, I just didn't drink anything.
and then the final game, which I'm going to be talking about for my best VR game I played in 2022, which will be not a surprise for a single person who has watched this podcast or this stream. My best VR game I played in 2022, which technically came out at the start of 2023 because of it went out of early access,
Oh, I didn't
is
realize that. Okay.
yes. My best game is the 1st January 2023. My best game is Gorilla Tag. Um, this game is phenomenal. I played so much Gorilla Tag in 2022. Gorilla Tag is the reason I have my affiliate partnership on Twitch TV. The reason I've been able to earn a bit of money actually from doing Gorilla Tag and the podcast. So really, really awesome game. Lots of people love to watch me play it on Twitch and join in and play games with me. Um, and it's cool to see that they've put so much development time into building new maps for this. People have made custom maps. It's hard to explain the movement system of Gorilla Tag. It's just essentially you move as you hit off things like a gorilla. Um, this game is just so much fun.
Like you're pulling with your arms off
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. And this game makes me feel old because there's a bunch of 12-year-olds flipping off walls just going, "Why are you moving so slow?" Um, on their Oculus Quest headsets. Again, surprised that I'm playing on a Vive. I don't know if you've seen like the recent Steam hardware survey, but I think we're at like 40% Oculus Quest headsets on like Quest 2 headsets on Steam. It's
Oh,
crazy.
really? Okay.
Yeah. Let me look it
Pretty
up.
high. You're still a professional Gorilla Tag player on
I
Twitch, right?
am, yeah. I'm one of the. I
Yeah.
mean, all you have to be a professional in something is get paid to do it. And I was
Yeah.
getting, I've literally got paid to play Gorilla
Yeah.
Tag, so
It counts.
I'm a professional Gorilla Tag player, guys. But that's it. The Oculus Quest is up 3%. It's 44.26% of VR headsets is the Oculus Quest 2.
That's
So
crazy.
even bigger than last time.
Yeah, that's crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Even with the
You
price
know what I'm
increase.
most excited for VR is a new VR headset to come out. I can't wait
Yeah.
for like the Valve Decard or whatever the hell Valve's coming out with next. I
If it
mean,
could be plugged in
a
and
standalone
like
headset.
standalone,
Yeah,
yeah, with better one plugged
I
in
want to
with
see
better
like
visuals.
I want to see a Valve like standalone headset, and I want to see a Quest 3. I'm not happy with the Meta Pro or whatever. It's
No.
too expensive.
Yeah.
It's just weird AR VR features that I don't want.
Oh, I want to see more foveated rendering and things. Like
Yeah, I'm
you
excited for
need that.
PSVR too, but I don't own a
Yep.
PS5, so I can't use it.
It's
Um,
yeah, it's expensive, but it's like reasonably priced almost.
yeah,
Is it
if
what, five
you
fifty?
if you've offset the cost already by having a PS5, then
Yeah, yeah. I assume you already got it. Like if you're trying to get both, that's insane. But
mhm.
a
So
lot of
yeah,
people have PS5s.
that's the VR section. Let's move on to the best demo beta I played. So a lot of the time, I will play a demo beta. I won't necessarily have got the full game as it come out, or the game might not be out yet. And I want to give a quick shout out to that game and be like, look, This game hasn't come out yet, or I haven't got the full game, but when I played the demo beta, it was fucking awesome. Make sure to check it out. So let's give our quick shout outs, and you can see the full games list, or you can see the full Spotlight or Tangerine if there is one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to that now. We have Core Keeper. I played the demo and the demo first, really like this game. I bought the full game, I've not played it yet. Project Warlock 2, played the demo, loved it. Great little boomer shooter, got the full game, haven't played it yet. Dome Keeper, I don't need to talk more about Dome Keeper, you know I love this game.
Yeah. There's a lot of keepers in this list.
Dredge, we just did a Tangerine on for the previous Demo
great.
Fest, which will be coming out, I think, tomorrow. I think the Tangerine video is scheduled for, because we did the Halloween one first. So you will be able to watch a video, or whenever this fucking video comes out, there will be a video on Dredge on the podcast that you can watch. This is fantastic, like Eldritch fishing game. Turbo Overkill, really fast paced, boomer shootery sort of game. Really, really cool. Published by Apogee. Good to see them come back from the old school shooting days. Really, really recommend this one. Super fast paced, super up my alley. Celico, another boomer shooter. Can't wait for this one to come out. I can't believe this game is running on the original Doom engine still.
No, that's insane.
And it looks like you go into the menu and it looks like Unity, and it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This looks so smooth. Awesome, awesome game. Angerfoot, from the creators of Genital Jousting and Gorn, comes another banger. Hotline Miami, but you're kicking everything. Awesome, awesome game. Passepartout 2, really fun. Seems like they've taken the solid groundwork of Passepartout 1, but actually added like decent mechanics to the game, rather than just being a straight up painting game, which I really, really enjoy. And Perfect Vermin was a really surprising little spotlight game for us, and I think I had an important message, and I think it is my favorite demo beta I played of 2022. I think it was a great little game, really fun to play, but also really interesting, and had a really cool like anti-smoking message, I guess, to it, which I thought was a really nice, precise little the idea of, you know, cancer and stuff like that. I thought, man, this game is it's sort of like really creepy in a lot of ways as well, and I just thought, man, this is a really cool little game. Check out our full spotlight of Perfect Vermin if you don't know what I'm talking about. Really, really cool game. Let's move on to another huge fucking category for played in 2022. And the problem here, Tony, is 2022 was absolutely fucking stacked for me in terms of games I played that were really fucking good. I played so many fucking good games this year, it was insane. Because I didn't put those chains on myself and said, I'm only going to play games that came out in 2022. I said, I'm just going to play good games, and it doesn't matter what year they came out in.
Because we now both like buy games like well after the hype, well after like once they're on sale, like patient gamers. Like
patient
it
gamers
doesn't
rise up.
Yeah, I'm planning like a lot of the good games that came out in 22 that I haven't talked about. I'll probably play 23 or even 24. Like I'll talk about them then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy.
So let's show off some of these. So one of the best games I played in 2022, which is a hard thing because I played so many good ones, was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. You could hear me. I believe we have a tangerine on this, so you can hear me gushing about how much I love this game. And essentially, I played this right at the start of 2022, and essentially I said, man, it sucks that I played this at the beginning of 2022 because I feel like this is going to already be my game of the year because it is that phenomenal. I think it is a masterpiece of a game. And And I fully went through with this belief that Ori and the Will of the Wisps would be my game of the year and nothing would be able to top it. I thought, there is no way I'm going to be able to play another game that is as good as this. If you want to watch my full thoughts, check out our Tangerine. This game is phenomenal. Then I played a game called Quake, and I just was fucking obsessed with this game. I was dreaming about Quake. I was non-stop playing Quake. I was playing every single expansion of Quake. I played every single mod. I was playing community mods. I was playing Lego Lepin Quake.
Yeah.
I think that the 2021 Night Dive port of this game has made it one of the best FPS experiences you can play on PC right now, without a doubt. This game is fucking phenomenal, and it's such a shame that a lot of people will just be like, "Oh, it's an old game. There's no point checking it out." Like the amount of work that Night Dive put in to make this like 120 FPS, 4K, like modern day running a modern system experience. It's so good. I can't
Mm.
overstate how much I adore Quake. It is one of the best FPSs of all time, and if you have not played it, you are doing yourself a disservice by not playing this game, especially in the Night Dive port. And so I played this around like Halloween time, like Octoberish time, like sometime around there, and I thought, man, I didn't think I would be able to find a game that topped Ori, but I guess it was bound to happen. I mean, it was right towards the end of the year, and I said, you know what? Quake is really fucking good. There's nothing that's going to top Quake. And
This.
then in December, I played Hades. And I gotta say, Hades is another fucking masterpiece. It is fucking phenomenal. I thought I was done with roguelike games. I was just like, I'm so sick and tired of roguelike games these days. There's just endless progression. You never feel like you're doing anything. And Hades has almost been described as a roguelike game for people who don't like roguelikes. It is this
Yeah.
perfect blend of um it is a perfect blend of story progression, character progression, um, interesting atmosphere and gameplay and music and sound and everything. I fucking love Hades. I don't think I've talked about this game yet because it was on my wheel. Somebody recommended I played Hades, and
I don't think we have on yeah, I don't think we have on the podcast at all.
so I guess I'll talk about it now because I haven't fully talked about Hades yet. Um,
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of reviews.
People fucking love Hades, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'll stream this to you so you can see it as well. So, Hades is a game where you play as Zagreus. In Hades, you are the son of Hades,
Yeah.
and essentially, you are sick and tired of living under your father's rule, the Lord of the Underworld, and you want to essentially break free from the underworld and reach the surface. Every time you do this, your father sends basically his security to stop you from getting there. Um, one way you're being helped is you've basically told the gods that you want to go and visit them up in Olympus. So they're sending boons down to try and help you. So these boons are like the upgrade system that you get throughout the run, and you can choose different boons, which completely changes your playstyle. Before the run, you choose a different weapon, and you unlock these weapons as you play. And yeah, it's really, really fucking fun. I gotta say, so my history of Supergiant games, I played Bastion years ago, and I thought I did not gel with it at all. I thought
Right.
like the story was okay, but I wasn't a big fan of the combat. I thought the combat got a lot better as the game went on, but I felt like by the time the combat got good, the game was like over.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was a bit. I haven't played like Transistor. It's actually on my friend's wheel right now to play Transistor. Their other one of Supergiant games. So I'm really interested to go back and play that now after loving Hades. Um, but I gotta say, the combat in this game, phenomenal. Some of the best combat in a game I've played all year. Absolutely adore this game. Really thankful that a friend recommended this to me because I really wanted to play this when it came out in like 2020, And I was like, I'll get round to it at some point. But one of my friends said, you know what? I think you should play Hades, and they were right. I love this game. It is phenomenal. But yeah, so the way it works is it's a roguelite in the way where every time you die, you spawn at the pool of sticks in Hades Manor, and you have to start again. And it's more like a roguelite in a sense because you
Yeah.
basically unlock the gems, which you can then use to um, power up Zagreus. There's other stuff you can collect to upgrade the mana and give you more like wells that heal you as you progress through the run. So there is a lot of progression through Hades, but it is still at its core a roguelite. Um, but yeah, man, some of the I just remember like getting to a certain floor and just dying repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, and then once I beat the boss there, I could consistently get past it, and I just there's so much progression, not just in the actual literal progression, but even without the upgrade system, Hades has a really satisfying like player skill progression where you just genuinely get better at the game to a point where eventually there's a thing called the heat system that unlocks where you essentially make the game harder by choosing conditions to make it harder, and
Right.
then this unlocks more stuff for your character as you complete the game on harder heats. And it's really interesting because you choose what thing you want to make the game harder. You might be somebody who thinks, oh, I can beat the game really fast, so I'm going to put on the condition that means I have to beat the bosses by a certain time. Or, oh, I don't mind. Like for me, I don't mind traps. So one of the heat things is called heightened security, which makes traps deal like additional 200% damage. But some people are like, that's one of the worst ones to pick. That you're going to deal so much damage to yourself with that because there's so many traps in the game. So it's like really depending on how you play and how you want to play. Hades is a really great player expression game. Um, it's so much you choose what weapon you like, you choose what god's boons you like, you
Yeah.
choose how you want the game to be harder. Like it is such a great game for combat, player expression, theming, characters. I fucking love all the characters. I love how like what's his name? Dionysus, the god of wine and like parties.
Yeah.
He's exactly how you think he would be. He was like, "Hey Zach, can't wait to see you up here, man. We're gonna have a crazy party when you get up here." Like all of the there's voice acting for every single god, and they have a unique thing to say to you every time you pick up a boon from them.
That's
Um,
really cool.
that progresses as you progress through the story, which is fucking phenomenal. That they've put so much work into this game, and I genuinely think it's a masterpiece of a game. Absolutely crazy game. This is like the gems that you pick up to upgrade your character. Yeah, I'm absolutely flustered by this game because I think it's so good, and I would highly recommend anyone to try this game. The same with every game I talked about so far: Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Quake, and this game. I've played a lot of really good games, and you'll see some of the games I haven't mentioned as my best games that are you would probably consider to be amazing games, and they're on the honorable mention list because they're so good, but they're just not as good as some of these phenomenal games that I've been playing this year,
Yeah.
which is crazy considering how good these games are in their own right. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else I have to say about Hades? Completed the game. The game does have an end. It can keep going. I played it with a mouse and keyboard because I was like, well, if I was going to get a Steam Deck, obviously I would learn to play with a controller. But then I got a Steam Deck, and I'm now having to relearn the game on controller, which it feels good on both. Like mouse and keyboard gives you more like aiming control for like using the bow or the gun. There's a gun in this game, by the way. It's really fucking cool. There's every weapon is unique, and then there's these hammer upgrades which completely change how you even every weapon operates. It's like yeah, there's so much customization to the game, and it's phenomenal on mouse and keyboard. It's phenomenal controller. It's good on PC. It's good on Steam Deck. It runs on everything. Um, Hades is amazing. I'm now tasked with the impossible task of choosing the best game I played in 2022.
Yeah.
because I played Hades right at the end, and it's fresh in my mind, and I'm thinking, I love this game so fucking much. Um, According to Steam stats, Witcher 3 should be my game of the year, but it's fucking not. Because I've played the most of the Witcher 3 according to the Steam replay thing. Um,
Sure.
um, I was obsessed with Quake to the point where I still go back and play Quake, and Ori is just fucking phenomenal in every right. It is one of the best Metroidvania games of all time, and it just improves on from the first game. And its story is gut wrenching and makes me want to fucking cry. Um, but if push came to shove, and you said if I have the impossible task, which I have now, which is to pick the best game out of these threes, I think I would choose Quake. I think it's
Okay.
Quake.
You think
Um,
it's Quake? You think it's Quake?
I don't know because I could, depending on the day, I could change my mind, which is the annoying
Right.
thing. Because these games are also very, very good. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Quake. So yeah, should I go through my honorable mentions quickly and then move on to yours, or do you want to do that afterwards?
Just, I think it makes sense. I need to do it afterwards. Like, I think mine are more honorable
No,
mention-y. There's no like me choosing the greatest game. I don't think so.
you want to do honorable mentions now?
Yeah, mine are more just added on to honorable mentions. I would say.
Okay, let me pull up the. It's not really important to have the store pages up because I'm just going to mention them briefly. Uh, so, honorable mentions. I love all these games. I couldn't make a games of the years list that was 20 games long. I even had to cut some really good games off the honorable mentions list because I played so many fucking good games this year. So, honorable mentions: Resident Evil 2, Superliminal, Warhammer Space Marine, Half-Life
Oh, that's a good
Opposing
one.
Force, Thief Gold, Guacamelee, Cuphead, Call of Juarez Gunslinger, Ultimate Doom, Titanfall 2, Dead Space 2008, Sleeping Dogs, Undertale, Stacking, and Typing of the Dead Overkill. But yeah, I had to cut some of these games off because I had too many games. I've played a lot of fucking
Yeah,
good games this year.
I
But yeah,
guess yeah, I'll quickly go over. I go in more detail than mine's a halfway between honorable mentions and games I played and liked. 22.
yeah,
There's only two of them.
yeah,
I'll start chronologically, I suppose. Um, Divinity Original Sin 2.
yeah.
Then something has a definitive edition.
Definitive edition, yeah.
Sorry, definitive.
Make sure
It
you
has
mention
such a long
it's
name.
a definitive edition.
Yeah. So yeah, this game is very interesting, and I think there need to be more RPG co-op games.
Yeah,
But playing this, I think I understand what the difficulty is because there are some issues at the start of the game,
yeah,
in like terms of like getting out of the tutorial area and then like how it then introduces like the main story part. But then once it gets going after that, it's like really, really good. But then I'm going through the bad stuff first. Um, there's a weird system which I don't understand. If one of your friends steals from someone, like you pickpocket someone, obviously the character's gonna go around and like go, "Did you steal something?" And it's a weird system. It doesn't quite work because I don't know what the solution is to this, but it's like if someone steals, like if you're like, okay, say you're going to a building, someone's at the front of the building, you're at the back of the building, your friend is stealing from them at the front, and then you then walk towards them because you're doing like another part of the quest or something, or another you're trying to accept another quest.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit weird, and you can like activate quests without them being there. I think Much like, do you remember D&D sessions where it's like once people start splitting up, it's an awful experience?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. So obviously D&D is a co-op RPG. I think if you treat it as you have to stay together, it is way better. And it works much better, like just stick as a party and it works flawlessly. It really is like, it's not quite like it's like D&D but done like in their way of doing D&D, like with their own mechanics and things. And
Yeah.
it's really fun to think about, like, and it is very much like if you think about how to use the environment to your advantage and not get killed by the environment in the process, because you can do that quite easily. You will do way more damage and it'd be way easier to survive. And there's some really cool combos of like you and the environment and you and like with enemy stuff and you and like your own party. And it's like really cool to do that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people describe this as like a very good co-op sort of experience.
Yeah. One thing I would
Um,
say in terms of the co-op experience, in the if you're playing single player, like any other RPG,
yeah,
obviously there's like main character companions, right? You can get you play as a 4-player party, like
yeah,
a lot of RPGs. Um, Players replace that, and the way that the game, this is kind of spoilers, but it's like
okay,
minor spoilers.
yeah.
The way the game works after the tutorial island, quote unquote,
Yeah.
um, everyone who isn't in your party dies.
What?
So it's not like Dragon Age or Mass Effect where there's like people on a ship or people at the camp you can switch out later. It's like, no, they're dead. Whoever you chose are staying with you, which I don't agree with. I would prefer, like, you have a literal ship in this game. I don't understand why they just couldn't have been on the ship and you could talk to them later. But that's why they decided to do the game. That's how they decided to do the story. As much as I disagree with
Have
it.
you ever played Divinity Original Sin 1?
No, no.
Okay.
Well, I say that I didn't. Me and a friend played a little bit of it, but it was like just a tutorial to see if we could connect, and then we were like, "Oh, we'll play it later." And then other friends like, "Oh, let's play the original Sin 2." As if that's
Yeah.
we played that first.
Okay.
Um, you don't. I thought I'm not. Again, I've not played one, so I don't. As far as I can tell, like it feels like it's from scratch. I assume it's like a different time period or like a different region. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it starts as if it's its own story. You don't need to know the first game at
Okay.
all. As far as I can tell, and maybe it's like so subtle that they don't like put it in your face. There's no references to the first game. If there are, they don't make it obvious. But yeah, it's a really fun system. It can be really punishing. You have to like make sure like you know what you're kind of doing. Like some people, like some NPCs are stronger than you. You know, you have to wait until you're better, or you know how to deal with some of the problems.
Yeah.
But in a way, I like that. That's kind of fun to do. Like go back and do stuff. And some of the bosses are really fun as well. I really enjoyed it. It was great fun. I want to do more, but it's hard to get everyone in to do it and play it together. Oh, also, we did the stupid thing, which makes it harder. We were all playing as skeletons. Skeletons can't heal; they have to heal through a toxic, or I think poison. Technically, it's through a poison
You just
system.
love being a skeleton, don't you,
Well,
Jamie?
I was like, oh, you can be a skeleton, and then it's like, oh yeah, you can be a skeleton of like different species. I was like, well, we're all skeletons now.
Okay.
And then one of the NPCs companions is also a skeleton. So literally a party of 4 skeletons. Uh, yeah, very interesting at some points,
Is it one of those
especially
things where you
when
could like brick your run and you sort of have to start again, or
no, we haven't softlocked ourselves yet. But there's a point where one of the gods is trying to communicate with you, and to help you, they put down a pool of like healing water, which hurts you because you're a skeleton.
you love to hear it.
It's like, well,
You love
you're
to
not
hear
helping.
you love to hear that you can just fuck yourself over. The game
Yeah,
allows you to fuck yourself over like that.
yeah. The other really good thing is like we had to play through the tutorial, like it's like a tutorial. Like, it's like the very start, like at literal tutorial. And there's the
Yeah.
starting island. We had to play through the tutorial a couple of times to get the classes we wanted, because there's like set classes, but I first thing I decided I want to change it, like, because this doesn't like really gel with what I'm going for. But then when I
Yeah.
started to understand what you could combine and how the progression system, the stats and the attributes work, it's like, oh, this is really cool. Like you can really like get your class, like your custom class down basically. That was really cool. And I think we've all done that now. We've all got like custom classes, and
Yeah.
it's much better than the starting classes in my opinion. So I would recommend going through the tedium of that. The start of the game is the worst part, like
Yeah.
100%. The tutorial is not very good, and the starting island doesn't teach you like the overall story and like world mechanics very well, in my opinion. But once you get past that, it's so good, and I
Yes.
do want to play more.
Well, this
I
next.
guess it leads to the other
Go on.
game. What do you want to say? What do you say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's interesting to see like the games you pick because they're not usually games I would play, so it's interesting to hear about
Yeah,
them.
too. It's interesting. But the next game after this is definitely a game you've definitely played. So,
Yeah, I love this game.
Warhammer Vermintide 2.
So how much have you
It
played this?
we have completed. I don't know how I can't remember how this was. Like there's lots of like, different campaigns, right? I think we completed 3/4 of the first campaign.
Okay, right.
We've gone quite far. We've only had a couple of glitches, but we were able to reset it and do it again. Um, it I I've never really played a Left 4 Dead game properly, but I really like the Warhammer Age of Sigma Left 4 Dead, I
World,
suppose, killing all the rats. Yeah, the world is cool.
the
It's like
Skaven, the Age of
yeah,
Sigmar.
Skaven, and then like the
Yeah,
enemies. What are they? It's like it is. I can't remember what they call them, but yeah, like they've teamed up with like one of the chaos devotees, and it's really cool. I really like being a melee player. I'm not. I don't. I think it's one of the reasons why I don't play Left 4 Dead games. Is like I don't. I'm fine with shooter games, but like I don't. I'd rather not if I don't have to. And like having to like be able to do really cool melee stuff, and like the melee stuff feels really really good. I love like the blocking, them pushing them away to like to control them and like hitting them and like trying to actually aim your weapon, and like it just feels really really good. And like if it feels, it sounds and looks
yeah,
like really visceral, and it's fantastic. It's like the universe I like,
yeah.
and
Well,
it's
I've been
just
saying for
the
a long
sound
time.
design is so
I
good.
think the best Left 4 Dead game that isn't Left 4 Dead is Warhammer Vermintide 2. I think it is
Yeah,
phenomenal, and
it is
I
great.
think it's such a shame that Darktide launched in the state that it did, where
Yeah,
they have such good, developing chops that they could make a phenomenal
yeah.
Warhammer like penal colony like sort of game, but
In 40K instead of
yeah,
just Age of Sigma.
yeah,
Yeah,
but they've
but
just
it's
missing
understandable
some of those
though.
features. Yeah,
Because I'm already starting to see issues with like DLC and like extra like visual customization content in Vermintide 2, which is
yeah.
kind of a shame.
I mean, like, there's a DLC for Vermintide where people are like literally don't get it. It's like a Beastman
Yeah,
DLC, and it adds
yeah.
Beastman to your game, which a lot of
It
people don't
changes.
like.
Yeah, if people said do not install this DLC or do not buy it, yeah. And the
Mm.
fact they've got that as and it sounds. The problem is like the DLC sounds really cool in principle, but it's like but it ruins it apparently. It's like that
Mm.
sucks. So like it doesn't surprise me that they can have like a really good core and then like ruin it with
I
something.
liked that the characters in Warhammer Vermintide are like their own unique
Yeah,
personalities, and they riff on
they
each other,
always
sort of
talk.
thing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
And I like I think in other Age of Sigma stuff, I don't really get the sense of like how elves, dwarves, and humans like work together, or like how like other
yeah,
magic stuff, I like priests and what things work. But like because you've got characters of those archetypes, it's like oh, I understand. Like it's a good introduction to the Age of Sigma universe for me because this was like never really had that before, and it's like oh, this is a
mm,
really really good introduction. It's fantastic. It's kind of like how Warhammer Space Marine is a really good introduction to 40K. I think Vermintide 2 is a great introduction to Age of Sigma. And it is so good. And also, there's like upgrading. You can like upgrade like your home like with like paintings and trophies and things. It's kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like the lore, and I've been like activating like talk like at the end of like doing a mission, you can like talk to someone about like the lore stuff. Is like I've been doing that. I've been having fun learning about all the stuff. So yeah, I really like it as a Warhammer fan and
So
killing the
if
rats.
you had to pick one, Tony, which one would it be?
It would be Vermintide 2.
Okay.
I had more. I played longer for Original Sin 2, and it's really good. But maybe it's because it's more in my mind, maybe. But like, I really like the visceral feel of Vermintide 2, and yeah, I like the characters. They're really
I would just
funny.
like to point out Tony's been playing multiplayer games, but he refuses to play them with me.
Yeah, I played V Rising.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only one though.
Let's move on to a new category. With so many games these days, we're seeing a lot of live service games where they are being constantly updated, and they almost feel like some of these big updates are making them feel like almost new games in a lot of ways.
Mm.
But one couple here that I really wanted to highlight were there was a couple of really cool games that I played this year, but they were essentially just an update to an existing game. So the first one I wanted to highlight here was I wanted to highlight Fortnite, which is a game that
Fortnite Battle Pass.
I have played. Fortnite Battle Pass. I just shit out my ass. I have like over 500 hours in Fortnite. I love Fortnite, which is something that might surprise people, but I've played this a lot. I think it's a really cool game mode, and the fact that this year they added the Fortnite Zero build mode, where they essentially took the game and they could have just taken it and just removed building and be like, go ahead, play it. It would have been awful.
Yeah.
But they actually took building out and then made like the vaulting system and the idea of porta forts and um, new ways to move around to get around the fact that you can't build. Like they actually took out the building and they thought about it and they made a really compelling gameplay experience where I saw people coming back to play Fortnite that had got sick and tired of all the people who were very good at building. But I saw
Yeah.
so many people who'd never played Fortnite play it for the first time because there was this game mode now. And it really
It's
made the
crazy
game
there's new
feel
people to play the
fresh.
game.
Well, there's people who would have never have played it because they were like, "Oh, Fortnite, that's that kids game where you build
Yeah, I
again,
guess. I
right?"
guess. It's just insane there's like so many people already played the game.
But I genuinely really loved the Zero build mode, and I spent a bit of time this year playing Fortnite Zero build mode. I think it was my go-to game mode this year, so awesome to see. Next up, I want to shout out Hearthstone Battlegrounds. This is one of my like guilty pleasure games where I play an insane amount of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I watch an insane amount of Hearthstone Battlegrounds on Twitch. I'm
Oh,
in
it's
like
like the
the
old days again. I'm watching Hearthstone.
I'm there's a thing called Twitch Replay now, which shows you what you watch on Twitch over the year. Just to let you know, Tony, I have like it was like that. You know, there's like a 365 days of the year. It came out this
Yeah.
Twitch Replay thing. And it was like you watch Twitch for like 340 days of the year, and I was just like, oh no. But genuinely, I like wake up every morning and I put on Hearthstone Battlegrounds and I watch like I'm in the
Yeah.
top 1% of like Super JJ watchers, who's like a big Hearthstone Battleground streamer. Um, but yeah, they added a system this year called the quest system, which essentially every single game you would have to pick from 3 quests, and based on actions you made during the game, it would you would complete that quest and be given a reward, and it changed dynamically through different games,
That's cool.
and it made the game insanely fun to play. I don't think I've
Yeah.
had more fun playing this game since the quest patch. Um, what they're doing with Battlegrounds, they're constantly making it feel fresh and new. Like they've literally just because they've just done an update now where they've removed the quest system, which I was really sad about because it was such a good system. But what they've done now, they've added a brand new tribe to the game called Undead, which is basically just added a bunch of new um, cards and a new hero as well. So they're trying to like balance it around Undead, and Undead came out and was completely broken, and they had to nerf it, and now
Yeah.
Undead's kind of shit, and then now what was I gonna say? I don't remember. Oh, there's still a hero in the game that when the quests were out, his hero power was he got an extra quest, but now
Oh,
quests are
okay.
removed. You can now his hero power is still he gets a quest right at the beginning of the game rather than on turn
Right.
3. So if you still want to play quests, there's still a hero that can play quests in the current game.
It's not just for everyone. It's now like a specific thing. Okay.
But I would love to see them bring the whole quest system back. I
As like a
adore the
mode.
system.
As like a game mode maybe.
Or like a rotation, like Dark Moon
Yeah, yeah,
tickets.
yeah.
They have
Okay.
a thing called Dark Moon Fair tickets, which every third or fourth game will have Dark Moon Fair tickets in it. They could implement a system where every third or fourth game will have quests in it, for example.
Yeah, that'd be good. I agree with that, yeah.
Then next up we have Sea of Thieves. We got this year. We got Sea Forts. We got the
You went
PvP
ham
update.
this year.
We got Captaincy update. We got Adventures, which are like mini, like the full Tall Tale things. Season 5 was just on the cusp of 2022, where we got buried treasure, fireworks, cannon rowboats. Like, there's been so much cool shit in Sea of Thieves this year, and I've loved a lot of it. Really, really excited to see what's coming more from Sea of Thieves in 2023. And again, every game I'm mentioning here is just an example of how you do a live service game right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have one final game, Tony, and I've been
Right.
playing this game quite a lot this year, and it's a
Yeah.
bit. I think technically you could say this is
It came
technically this
out.
is a game of 2022, and
But
technically
we both
it's a
disagree with
multiplayer
that.
game of 2022. But
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Overwatch 2, and
Yeah.
but even though I genuinely love what they've done with Overwatch 2, it is essentially an update to Overwatch 1.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Um,
it's not a new game. It's an update. It's fine. It's fine to be an update, but it's not a new game.
so you may or may not know, if you're an old fan of the podcast, you know I talk about Overwatch for hours in the original podcast. It was my game of
Yeah.
2016 for multiplayer. I love Overwatch. The reason I stopped playing it was because I ran out of people to play with. All the people I played with no longer wanted to play, so I felt like I just went on and played something else. One of the
Yeah.
best things they did for Overwatch 2 was they made it free to play. I think that is one of the best. I've been playing with so many friends who have never would have touched Overwatch in a million years. But again, it's the multiverses effect. They tried it out because it was free to play, and they ended up really, really enjoying it, which is really cool. I have played Overwatch with Overwatch 2 with more friends this year than I think I've played any other game on the earth. Like, it's insane. How many people I can
Yeah.
go, you want to play Overwatch? It's free to play, just download it. Oh, okay. And there's so many people I never would play games with that I play Overwatch 2 with, and there's so much I love about this update that is so moving from 5v5 to 6v6. I like the removal of a tank. I think it's a really good change. The game is much more fast and fun. I love that they've removed so much CC from the game. They've removed so much shielding from the game. I think it's an absolute godsend that we have like so much more freedom of movement, so much less like hard CC, so much less fucking, you know, oh, I push this button, I win kind of things, right?
Mm.
I think Overwatch 2 is genuinely one of the best multiplayer experiences right now. And whenever I'm not hopping onto a single player game, I'm hopping onto Overwatch 2 with a couple of friends. I've always loved this game, and Overwatch 2, I think, has massively improved the game, and that's why I think Overwatch 2 is the best game that was updated in 2022. It was the best live service game in 2022. I think it is genuinely really, really fun. I think um, even launching without the PvE aspect that it was originally supposed to launch with, Overwatch 2 is still a phenomenal PvP game, and it is coming with the PvE feature later down the line. They've said sometime this year, so we'll have to wait and see for the PvE features. But if it's anything like the original, like Junkenstein Revenge PvE stuff, I think it's going to be really, really fun. I had so much fun this Halloween playing through all the Junkenstein stuff that they've added for this
Yeah,
year.
because
So
that was like originally the thing was like Overwatch 2 would have like this like story basically or like a campaign,
yeah.
right? And it's like then removed it. It's like, ah, that's unfortunate. That's
Mm.
really unfortunate.
But yeah. Overwatch 2 is phenomenal, and I
Yeah, that's
love it.
good. Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
it's
yeah. I've
my
been spectating a
best
lot.
update of 2022. And
Yeah, I could 100% agree with that.
let's move on to best mod of the year. Oh god, this is going to be a long one. There-
What do you
There's
mean it's
been
going to be?
there's so many good mods that came out this year. It's kind of fucking nuts. I got to be honest with you. I think this year has been one of the most stacked years for mods in terms of quality and quantity. I think I'll mention Half-Life 2 VR, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't, give my full thoughts or, um, say it's the best. But
Okay.
I will mention everything I have played this year and go through everything. So let's start out because I asked you for your best mod, and you were like, "I haven't really played that many mods
Yeah, I
that
have
came out
played.
this year."
I have stuff to say, but I don't think it makes sense for this. It's like I've played lots of I played lots of Skyrim mods recently. Like November, I started modding Skyrim again, and I've been like focusing on like combat and like
Uh,
ideas from like something like Elden Ring, but then none of them are from late this year, so I don't think it counts.
First up, we'll start up with Downfall, a Slay the Spire expansion. I've talked about this. I've been playing this on my Steam Deck. I think this is amazing. Essentially, it takes Slay the Spire, flips it on its head, lets you play as bosses attacking the adventurers, and then also adds a brand new fifth character, the Hermit, who uses guns to attack your enemies. It's really fucking well made. It's available natively through Steam as a mod, so it's fully Steam Deck playable. I've
That's
tested it
great.
out. It's not verified on Steam Deck. Slay the Spire is, but from my testing, this game should be fully Steam Deck verified. Um, Really, really cool. I love Slay the Spire, and this just goes to show you the hard work of Slay the Spire modders and how cool they've made this mod. And yeah, definitely check out Slay the Spire Downfall. Next up, we have the RTX section. So we have
Okay.
Doom RTX. As you know, as I talked about on the podcast in Tangerine, I saw this on April Fools, and I said this can't be real. And then
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was like downloadable now, and I was like, "There's no fucking way." And
It was
then I
gonna
was like,
be
"This
a
has to be a
fake one.
fake video, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then I played it. I was like, "Holy shit, Doom RTX is real, and it fucking kicks ass." Um, I was like, "I'll sit down for 20 minutes and play through Doom RTX for the podcast footage." Right? I sat down and I played the entirety of Doom. It's so much fun, and this mod just brought so much more. I mean, it gave me another reason to play Doom again, which I think is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um,
And the
which
reflections were good,
Yeah.
and the lighting was very good.
And then next up we have Quake RTX. Still find it funny because it was made by the same guy who did Doom RTX. I still find it funny that the original trailer was him going, "Sorry, Half-Life 1 RTX has been delayed, so here's Quake RTX instead." Do you know, I've been obsessed with Quake this year. I think this looks really, really cool. I think if I had to compare it between Doom RTX, I actually think Doom RTX looks slightly better in terms of
Mm,
like the lighting and how much different it
yeah,
looks in terms of overall
I,
like
I think I have
improvement.
to agree with you. Yeah,
I still think
I
this
think
looks
it's sort
really
of
awesome,
yeah,
but I think the thing with Quake is it's always been very brown and murky, which
yeah.
doesn't isn't improved like massively by lighting in a
I
game that has very little lighting.
I will say though, like the reflected and lighting brown is better than just like
Mm.
texture only brown though. But yeah, I think Doom had more to improve or could be improved by like
I
it
don't
had
know. I don't know
a
if you
better
can.
base.
I don't know if you count this one because
Okay.
technically it is a mod, but Portal RTX looks fucking amazing, and I absolutely love it.
It's like a triple A mod. I'm gonna count it. I'm counting it.
It's a triple A mod. It's made by Nvidia Lightwork, who are the people who ported Portal to the Switch and the Nvidia Shield. And I literally played this again like a couple of days ago on my 4080, and because I initially played it on my 2080, I was able to get like 30 FPS. There was one level that was borderline unplayable on a 2080 Super. Um, I've played this on my 4080 at native res with the options turned up, or not native. Sorry, 1440p with DLSS 3.
Yeah.
And it ran at like about 90 FPS from 30, so that's kind of to show you the difference between the cards from a 2080 Super to a 4080 with DLSS 3 technology. Like,
That's 2 generations of card in what, over like 4 years?
yeah, so the game is like
Crazy.
is playable now on well, it's more playable. I would say there was like one level that
Yeah.
wasn't playable on the 2080, but it's down to users not optimizing it correctly through the menus. Because I know this mod got a lot of hate. I personally really like the aesthetic changes of like the glass buttons and the reflections, and I know
Yeah,
some people
yeah.
didn't like them, but
But you can turn that off, so and you can just not play it, so it's not really valid complaints in my opinion.
I remember
And you can
when
always mod the mod.
I remember when I got my 2080 Super, I launched up Battlefield 5 Rotterdam with the ray tracing, and I was blown away by the ray tracing. And I showed it to my dad,
You
and
were
I was like,
sold.
I showed it to my dad, and I was like, "This is what ray tracing is. This is ray
Yeah,
tracing." And he was like,
yeah.
"Man, this looks so good." And I got my
Yeah.
I got my 4080 card, and I loaded up Portal RTX, and I showed my dad, and I said, "Hey, this is what ray tracing can do now." And he was just fucking blown away again. Like how much we've advanced from that early ray tracing and like
Yeah.
the the Battlefield 5, which I think Rotterdam Battlefield 5 is some of the best ray tracing out there, but I think taking our beloved game like Portal and just having like light bouncing through portals, through water is just like fucking insane how much like path tracing is just
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
Um so yeah. Then next up we have Half-Life Alyx Return to Rapture. Um This one's hard to judge because from what I played, I really liked it, but at that time my RAM was going bad and the game kept crashing for me, and I think it wasn't due to the mod, I think it was due to my RAM. So I think I need to
Right.
replay this
Because you thought it was
with
unstable originally then.
yeah.
Okay.
But at that time I hadn't diagnosed that my RAM was fucking
Yeah.
dead and I needed to
Then
replace it.
other games were then having problems as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I think from what I played though, I adored the first one, and I think the second one looks phenomenal as well. It looks like they've turned it up to 11, so highly recommend that one. Let's go to. I have some footage of this actually, so I'll put it up now. Next one is Half-Life Alyx Gunman Contracts Chapter 2. I'll just put that up. Stream it to you.
Okay.
I love Chapter 1. It was like, holy shit, this is Half-Life Alyx, but it's just almost unrecognizable in the way it
It
looks and
looks
plays.
nothing like it.
Hmm.
What the hell? Is this Hitman VR?
It's Hitman VR. Yeah, essentially you die very quickly in this, and it's sort of more like I call it like a John Wick simulator.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hitman's more stealthy, but
just
yeah,
running
that
around
makes more
tapping
sense.
people with pistols very quickly, killing
Yeah.
them very quickly. But again, I will just say one of the best VR games of the year is the Half-Life Alyx Workshop.
Yeah.
Again, the Half-Life Alyx Workshop carrying the entire VR industry. Also, shout out to this mod, which takes the Metal Gear game where you're just endlessly climbing up a ladder and adds it into VR.
What?
Yeah, hang on. This is the whole mod. Ladder climbing.
Is there an end?
Yeah, you get to the top. It's just really fucking high up. You can't. Here I am looking down. It's playing the fucking Metal Gear music, but I don't think I can play it because of copyright.
Yeah, yeah.
But I thought this mod was hilarious, so I thought I'd include it quickly. And oh, another VR mod that I should mention as well is Super VHS. Just mention that quickly as well. I'll stream this to you as well. You've seen this, right?
Oh yeah. I saw.
There's a
I mean,
non-VR version of this, but I played the VR version of it. If you don't
yeah,
know, me and Tony are huge Red Letter Media fans.
yeah,
And essentially somebody took the entire set of Red Letter Media and remade it in VR. Which I
yeah.
think is fucking... One of my favorite things is smashing bottles in VR in the Red Letter Media studio set. Which is something they do a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's so cool to see. Like, because we've seen like in behind the scenes stuff and like some other like kind of like what
Yeah.
some of like the warehouse looks like behind the sets and things.
Mm.
But it's interesting to see because obviously like there's a non-VR version and like Red Letter Media made a video of this game as well
Yeah.
in that, and it's like kind of going through like yeah, that's almost it's not quite right, but it's like designed for a game. It's like, but it's pretty close according to
Yeah,
them.
somewhere I never thought I'd be in the Red Letter Media
Yeah,
Studios fucking filming
it's so
location.
cool.
The Wheel of
Yeah.
Misfortune, and get to spin it. Great little mod for all Red Letter Media. Creating Rem Lazar.
It's Rem Lazar.
In the Best of the Worst Hall of Fame.
That's brilliant. Wait,
Yeah.
is there a Nookie wall?
Oh, I don't remember actually. Maybe there is. Oh, it's the Shoji Tababuchi show. Let me skip. See, I think there's like a bunch of space cop props, and you can shoot like a laser gun. Oh, the Plaquetto board.
Yeah, oh, there's Nookie's on there.
Nookie's on the Plaquetto there, yeah.
Yeah, so you get to unlock like the space gun if you by collecting what 6
So the
things?
VR version's different. There's no.
Oh, okay.
There's less gameplay in the VR version. It's more just walking around. In the non-VR version, you kind of pick up tapes and you like
Yeah, you unlock all the tapes.
you get like information about them, whereas in this one you're kind of just walking around picking things up. There's not much gameplay
Right.
to it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how the VR version is different.
So those secret tapes just aren't even in this. Okay.
Oh, it's the half in a bag set.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
modded
the
this
well,
literally
yeah,
the
the
day before
VH.
Mike smashed it.
It's the lightning fast VCR repairs.
Exactly.
Oh, this is. I didn't realize from the video. There's a Star Trek little pamphlet on that. All the Star Trek ships.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's a love letter to Red Letter Media. Oh, there's the gun.
Yeah,
The gun's
space
just
cop gun.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You just immediately have it. Okay.
Yeah. It shoots like a... There's previously recorded lives, little like sprite things. The Jack Picard and Rich Evans like video game show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which they ended up cancelling, which is a shame because I like that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to the next great mod. We have Half-Life 2 VR mod. I wish I could talk about this. It is so overwhelmingly positive, people talking about it. I've avoided watching anything on it because I want to go in as blind as somebody who's played Half-Life 2 20 times can be. But because I kind of don't even know what people think of this. I just want to I don't want to see like a detailed video of someone playing this. I just want to experience it myself, despite the fact I've played Half-Life 2 like 20 times, as I said.
You want to know how the VR is implemented, yeah.
I wish I'd played this before we did this so I could talk about it, but I need to just get my VR set up and play this because it looks awesome. Entropy 02. I've got footage of this on my PC, actually. Let me pull that up. Here we go. Entropy 02. So, I talked about Entropy 01, I think last year even. And I said, it's an interesting first attempt, but I think it has a lot to improve. Entropy 02 comes out, and it's a really fucking good Half-Life 2 mod. Holy shit. They, completely improved in a lot of things. There's no more weird, janky puzzles about vaccinating yourself. There's no more, awkward, defense sections where you have to defend against a billion waves of enemies, and it's super fucking hard for no reason. It's a cohesive, short little mod about being a Combine in Half-Life 2 and going to it could be considered like a Half-Life 3 kind of game where
In
it's
terms of setting.
you go to like the Borealis with like the portal technology, and it takes that
Oh,
portal
okay.
technology and it like turns it into you get like portal grenades and stuff like that, which sounds awesome, and they are fucking awesome. Where essentially you can use these grenades to do like massive damage, but when you use them, it brings in a bunch of Zen creatures into the level as well. So it's like a risk
Oh
reward
god.
grenade.
Right.
Yeah. People were talking about this because I played it, I was like, it's really good. People were like, this is Half-Life 3. This is the best Half-Life 2 mod ever. This is not Half-Life 3. It's not the best Half-Life 2 mod ever, but it is really fucking good. I think Breadman has like thrown Entropy Zero one out of the park with this one. I think this game is really fucking cool. And yeah, I think he should be proud of the work he's done.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking cool. I love how much work he's put into everything.
It's cool that it's like improved and
yeah,
like polished it up. That's really cool.
I think I have some like a lot of like the Combine vision and stuff. Like he's thought about what kind of weapons the Combine would have and how they would see things. I think I have like later footage. You have like a portal turret companion. You're half of it's kind of like Portal and half of it's kind of like Half-Life. It's like interesting
That's
how they
cool.
did it.
Yeah.
Because the idea of Half-Life 3 is the mixture of like the Portal and the Half-Life universes.
Yeah.
There's even like great sections where you drive around like a Combine APC, and it's really well coded. It's really well made. It's really fun. I think I have footage of that as well. There's an entire section that's just like Jeff from Half-Life Alyx. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Jeff from Half-Life Alyx, don't worry about it. That's really, really fucking cool.
The horror section.
Yeah. There's a Jeff section.
Yeah. You've been Jeffed.
You just got flippin' Jeffed. I think if you're a Half-Life fan, you owe yourself to try Entropy Zero 2. Entropy Zero 1 is a bit of a tougher sell. I wouldn't say most people need to try
Do you
it.
need to play it to understand?
No,
okay, good.
I don't think so.
Good.
There's some APC footage here. Whatever, let me check. Do, but it's skipping the folder. Guys, ignore the spoilers. Oh, here it is. So yeah, you get to drive around in a Combine APC and shoot those rebel scum, you know? And it's so strange. You know, like when you play a game and you know this guy's the good guy and this guy's the bad guy. It's so strange shooting rebels and having those like little Combine mini stalker things be your companions. I'm like, every time I see them, I'm like, oh shit, I'm about to get attacked. And I was like, no, wait, he's on my team.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, highly recommend this mod. Really, really fucking good. Next up, let's talk about the Force Engine 1.0. Tony, have you ever heard of Star Trek Dark Forces?
Yeah, vaguely.
I'd never heard of it until this mod. I had no idea there was a boomer shooter version of Star Wars.
I didn't realize it was a boomer ship, but I knew of like the weird stories of that era.
The Entropy, the Dark Forces 1 is a Star Trek boomer shooter, and the engine for it was like a proprietary engine that was never released publicly or open sourced. until recently, where the engine was reverse engineered essentially, and we now have the
Crazy.
Force engine, which is now used to play LucasArts boomer shooter games. So we have it has support for Dark Forces 1 right now, but we'll eventually have support for Outlaws, which is like a Western boomer shooter game from LucasArts. The really interesting thing I find about like Dark Forces is like a lot of boomer shooters are set up that essentially you go through the level, you find the exit, you click on it, and you escape. With Star Trek Dark Forces, one of the things that surprised me the most was it's set up as like a mission objective system. So in a lot of levels, you won't be required to actually find the exit. As soon as you finish your mission, you just hit escape and you exit the level, and you've completed your objectives, and that's how you like evacuate the level. Some will require you to go back to the ship, but not all of them will, which I think is quite an interesting way to do it. You have like an inventory system with like different items that you need to use. Like it feels more RPG in some senses than other boomer shooters, but it's still very much just a straight up Star Wars boomer shooter, and it makes it fucking awesome to play. It's something I never knew I needed until I found out it existed. And this is Tony. This is another case where I was like, I'll sit down and record footage of this for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I
And
know people
then,
who like the story of it, so
yeah, I think the story's really cool. You essentially play as a smuggler sort of person. You're
yeah.
essentially going around trying to thwart the Empire in different ways and rescue hostages and find secret Dark Trooper weapons. Like for
It
the longest time, Dark Trooper stuff was non-canon in the new
yeah, oh
Star Wars
yeah.
universe until I think
Yeah.
recently they actually brought it back, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I think it's now official now, for
Um,
sure. Before it was like yeah, it was in like Legends or whatever it's called now, expanded, so
And then we have the Star Trek boomer shooter on the like Quake engine, and we have the Star Wars boomer shooter on the fucking Dark Force. I think it was. I could be wrong, but I feel like this was sort of based on the build engine from like Duke Nukem. Uh,
it's the correct era though, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it was made on an engine called the Jedi engine, which is very similar to the build engine used in Duke Nukem.
Right.
Because like I'm playing this game and I hear a lot of the sounds, and I'm like, that sounds exactly like the key card system in Duke Nukem. And I'm just like, I'm
Yeah.
getting like flashback. I'm getting like deja vu playing some of this game. Um, yeah, you have like an energy system. You have like flashlights and stuff. They require batteries and stuff like that, so you don't have unlimited uses of those. There's a lot of like interesting quirks with Dark Forces, but genuinely overall, I think it's a phenomenal game. And the fact that the Force Engine mod makes it playable, makes it adds like crosshair support, map support, just a bunch of quality of life features that make it super super fun to play now in 2022. I think makes it a phenomenal mod.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't expect it to be yeah, I thought it was kind of like you had to like put it in like a virtual machine to make it run properly at this point.
Next up, we have Jabroni Brawl, which is essentially just a Half-Life 2 mod that came out this year, which is essentially just Half-Life 2 deathmatch on steroids. This game mode I'm playing here is essentially like a golden gun game mode, where you just kill everyone in one shot, but every single gun is the golden gun. It just kills everyone in one shot. So I don't really understand there's like a railgun that kills in one shot, or you can use the golden gun, which turns people into gold when you kill them, or you can use the finger gun that kills people in one shot. It's just like I don't know, maybe they control differently, but for this game mode, it just seemed like it was doing it just because it's a silly game mode. Like
Right.
you can be the scientist from Half-Life 1, you can be the terrorist from Counter-Strike, you can be a rebel from Half-Life, you can be like random characters and you're all fighting, and it's essentially trying to be like the Smash Bros of Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, where it's just like everyone's here and you're all gonna play wacky like arena-based um deathmatch game modes essentially. And I think this mod is really fun. I tried a lot of I didn't understand. There was like a sneaks game mode that I did not understand at all what the hell you were supposed to be doing in it. Footage of it. Hang then. Oh, this was like a gun game mode. Some of the maps are really cool that they've made, where you get it's like gun games. Every time you get killed with a weapon, you get a new gun. But the guns they have on offer is like you can get an SMG, but then this is like a crazy double-barreled gun, and then this is like a gun that shoots portals or stuff like that. Like the appeal of this game is it's Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, but the gun roster and the character roster is just fucking nuts. And that's what makes it like a really compelling mod to play, and I think it's really, really fun. Evacuation is a Half-Life 2 mod. It's quite short. Essentially, it just puts you in the perspective of a rebel, and you essentially just have to escape from the Combine. I think this came out it may come out just at the start of 2023, but fuck it, I'll talk about it here. It's quite short. It's just I've never played this because I played it while my internet was down. But I think it only took me like a couple of hours to complete. But it was a worthwhile Half-Life 2 mod, and I'd recommend checking it out. Pretty awesome. So here's more like jabroni brawl shit, where it has like random effects. So this guy's on a text adventure, so it's turned his entire screen into ASCII, which I think is pretty funny. This game mode, you just spawn with a random gun, and then you have to try and kill everyone. Another jabroni brawl thing. I've got most of the ones I have footage for. Oh, some of these are honorable mentions I'm going through, but I'm just going to go through them all now. This is f-stop Project Capture. This is a Portal 2 mod that essentially takes the idea of f-stop from Valve, where you have a camera and you take photos of things to solve puzzles, and turns it into like a little mod, trying to recreate it in the Portal 2 engine, which I think is really cool. I think this is it could do with some work, but it's definitely a pretty cool little mod to try out. The idea of taking photos of cubes and then moving them around and stuff. I would have loved to have seen the original f-stop from Valve and how it would have played out, but if the best we're going to get is people's mods, then I think that's cool. I'll just do all my honorable mentions now. Time Splitters 2 Redux, the mod that makes the hidden Time Splitters 2 game inside Homefront playable, and just removes all the Homefront content from the game and just makes it Time Splitters 2.
I still find that crazy that is even in the game to begin with. But
Voxel Doom, which adds voxels to Doom, which turns them into like 3D models, voxels. Doom the Golden Souls 3, which turns Doom into a platformer. Sonic Roboblast 2, which okay, Tony, let me show you something. Let me find you something.
Okay.
This is Sonic Roboblast 2. It's a really cool little Sonic game. What engine is this running in?
Wait, can I see? Hang on.
Oh, hang on, I'm not streaming it to you, am I?
Yeah. There we go.
This game.
How?
This is like a Sonic mod.
It's
What if I told you this is
Doom?
running in GZ Doom?
Okay. I think the only thing that would give it away to some extent, I don't know, it's still a guess, but like, the walls kind of remind me of Doom.
I just think it's the Doom modding community, dude. It's just they never cease to amaze me with their fucking ingenuity.
Well, I guess once someone's like solved a problem, like you then have that in your like repertoire to go forward.
When I was on like the when I was on the Linux desktop on the Steam Deck, one of the things under games on the App Store was this game. So you can just download it onto your Steam Deck from the like native Linux App Store that's on there. And
just play Sonic.
I found out about another game as well that's on there called there's a Sonic Kart version of this that's running on GZDoo, which I'm like, okay, Jesus Christ, they just went crazy with mods, didn't they? But this game's really, really fucking fun, so I'd recommend checking this one out. And then so those are my honorable mentions. When I start Voxel Doom, Doom Through the Golden Souls, F-Stop Time Splitters, Jabroni Ball, Evacuation, Sonic Blast. Let's go back to talking about my best mods of the year quickly because I've got a couple left. So, Trombone Champ custom songs. I think this goes without saying. Like playing stuff like Initial D, Dragon Force Through the Fire and the Flames, We Are Number One. Like so many awesome custom songs with like. I wanted to show this one specifically because of the. I wanted to show this one specifically because of the custom background people make for these, where they take the Trombone Champ characters and add custom animations for them. I fucking love
It also
Trombone
sounds great.
Champs. Custom mod song community. They're